Chapter 339. The Triennial Mountain River List ranking competition had finally begun, and the entire Azure Dragon Institute was bustling with noise and excitement. The Mountain River List ranking competition had two different methods. The first method was a single-round elimination system. Because the Azure Dragon Institute had more than 100,000 students, and the Mountain River List only had 300 seats. Therefore, only those who had accumulated 1,000 points had the qualifications to challenge the older students on the Mountain River List. Defeating one opponent could increase one's points by 5. Other than that, the students on the Mountain River List could also challenge higher-ranked students. And if they could win, they would take over their opponent's position, and the defeated student's ranking would automatically drop by 1 place. Under normal circumstances, unless one was very confident in themselves, they would only accept the challenge. Because the people on the Mountain River List were all experts, if they failed the challenge and were injured, other students could take advantage of the situation. Thinking about it, if they were injured, the experts outside the Mountain River List would definitely challenge them to take over their position. And at that time, being defeated would be a high probability event. Before the start of the Mountain River List ranking competition, Blood Dragon appeared on the square, ascending the main stage, and said in a cold voice, "Where's Lin Feng? You challenged me a month ago, and now that I'm here, you can come out." Many people were waiting for the battle between Lin Feng and Blood Dragon. At first, they thought that the battle would take place at the end of the Mountain River List ranking competition, but no one would have thought that Blood Dragon would be so impatient to fight with Lin Feng. In the huge square, more than 100,000 people's cheers shook the sky. One was the Blood Dragon Gang's president, the first-ranked student on the Mountain River List. The other was the Dragon Gate's patriarch, the rising star of the Azure Dragon Institute. The battle between the two could be said to be the center of attention. Moreover, this battle would take place before the start of the Mountain River List ranking competition. It made many people feel excited. "Where is Lin Feng? Roll over here to die." Blood Dragon spoke for the second time, his voice cold, filled with contempt for Lin Feng. But Lin Feng still did not appear. This Lin Feng wouldn't be afraid to fight, right? There's really such a possibility. Did you guys hear about what happened a month ago? What is it? Many people saw the conflict between Lin Feng and the Blood Dragon. The Blood Dragon was really too strong and suppressed Lin Feng. Lin Feng probably felt humiliated and was angry, so he challenged the Blood Dragon. When he calmed down, he realized that he couldn't be the Blood Dragon's opponent, so he didn't fight. Now that you mention it, I think it's very possible. After all, you can do anything if you're hot-headed. After thinking about it, you realize how irrational your impulsive actions were. The Blood Dragon is too strong. Lin Feng must know that he's no match for the Blood Dragon, so he didn't appear. Many people began to talk about it. "Look, the people from the Dragon Gate are over there. Lin Feng is indeed not there." It seems that Lin Feng is really afraid of the Blood Dragon and doesn't dare to appear. Some students pointed at Long Shiyu, Xiao Yifei, Wang Kuan, and the others. Long Shiyu and the others naturally did not believe that Lin Feng would shrink back at the last minute. "The patriarch has been gone for a month. He said he'd come back before the battle. Why hasn't he come back yet? Is the patriarch okay?" asked Wang Kuan worriedly. "With the patriarch's strength, he should be fine. He went to the Savage Forest to train, so it's not strange that he'll be late," said Long Shiyu. The Blood Dragon was furious. "You challenged me, but you don't dare show up. How ridiculous. If you see me in the future, you'll have to avoid me." The Blood Dragon was extremely arrogant. His cold laughter echoed throughout the square. "Damn it, I really want to teach him a lesson," said Wang Kuan gloomily. Said Long Shiyu, "Let's wait for the patriarch. We'll see if he can still be so arrogant. Wang Kuan knew that he was no match for the blood dragon. He would only be humiliating himself if he went. He nodded and waited with the others for Lin Feng's return. Is Lin Feng really afraid? Whispered someone from the Drizzle building. Zhou Xiu looked at Zhou Yingying and said, "Second sister, you've interacted with Lin Feng before. What do you think of him?" Zhou Yingying thought for a moment and said, "I think he's very open and upright. He doesn't seem like someone who's going to back down." Zhou Xiu nodded and said, "To be able to establish the Dragon Gate in such a short time and contend against the five old forces, how can such a person be simple? Wind Snow School, Lu Fengxue, Leng Qiushuang, Xue Ziyao, and the rest of the Wind Snow School's upper echelons were present. Xue Ziyao said, "Is Lin Feng really afraid to show up?" Leng Qiushuang frowned and said, "I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that Lin Feng will definitely show up." Lu Fengxue smiled and said, "I can't see through Lin Feng. Let's just wait and see." Other than them, the Mad Tiger Gang, Thunder Firmament Sect, and other student forces' upper echelons were also discussing this matter, including the Azure Dragon Institute's teachers, attendants, and elders. Everyone was discussing if Lin Feng was delayed by something, or if he really didn't dare to accept the challenge. Each side had their own explanation. At this moment, the Blood Dragon Gang's members were all high and mighty. Who does Lin Feng think he is? Can he contend against our president? He's overestimating himself. That's right. He's so scared that he doesn't dare to show up. Do you know where he's hiding? Haha, what a coward. He doesn't even have the qualifications to carry our president's shoes. The Blood Dragon Gang's members mocked and ridiculed. "Bastard, what are you talking about?" The Dragon Gate's members naturally couldn't take it anymore and started arguing. It was obvious that a great battle was about to break out. "Where is Lin Feng? Where is Lin Feng? Where is Lin Feng?" Blood Dragon stood on the stage and let out 3 consecutive shouts that were deafening to the ears. "He still hasn't shown up. He must be scared. Tisk TSK. He must be regretting challenging Blood Dragon now." Some students curled their lips and said, Blood Dragon's expression was cold as he shouted, "Lin Feng, you don't dare to accept the challenge? I've overestimated you. A coward like you. You don't even have the qualifications to make me, Blood Dragon, take action." Blood Dragon stood on the stage, looking incomparably arrogant. His gaze was as cold as a blade, and everyone could feel his condescending attitude. However, Blood Dragon was strong enough to look down on any student in the Azure Dragon Institute. "Blood Dragon, can't you keep your cool? It seems that I've underestimated you." Just as Blood Dragon's voice fell, a voice suddenly sounded. Everyone turned to look in the distance. Seeing that figure, Blood Dragon's face revealed a trace of coldness. Thousands of meters away, a figure was bouncing from a tall building. Every time he bounced, he would travel hundreds of meters. A distance of thousands of meters was covered in a few breaths of time. That young man landed on the arena more than 10 meters away from the Blood Dragon. A terrifying aura immediately spread out from that young man's body. "You're finally here to die?" Blood Dragon sneered. "Blood Dragon, you're too arrogant. Today, I'll trample you under my feet." The young man stepped out, and the aura around him became more terrifying as he walked toward Blood Dragon. Chapter 340. This is momentum condensation. Many people were astonished when they sensed that Lin Feng's qi was becoming more and more powerful. Momentum condensation. This was a very extraordinary ability. Not everyone could condense momentum. Often, many powerful existences could use momentum to kill people. Their momentum was very terrifying because those existences were extremely confident in themselves. Moreover, Their cultivation was profound, and they had comprehended the method of condensing momentum. Therefore, many times they didn't need to make a move to condense their momentum and kill the enemy. Lin Feng, on the other hand, had experienced life and death battles again and again. He had also led 1,000-man army to battle the Beastmen army, killing countless Beastmen soldiers and several Beastmen generals. He had entered the Beastmen army as if there was no resistance. This was a great boost to Lin Feng's comprehension of momentum. Generally, to condense momentum, one needed to be at the yin-yang realm or above. However, Lin Feng's experience, coupled with Lin Feng's comprehension, had allowed Lin Feng to comprehend the method of condensing momentum. Lin Feng walked step by step towards Blood Dragon, his momentum growing stronger. No, I can't take it anymore. Lin Feng's momentum is too strong. Many of the Azure Dragon Institute teachers and attendants who were closer to the stage couldn't withstand the momentum emitted from Lin Feng's body. Their faces were pale, and they quickly retreated. What a genius! He can actually comprehend momentum at the martial general realm. Many of the Azure Dragon Institute's higher-ups were shocked. Lin Feng's momentum directly enveloped Blood Dragon's body. Crack! Blood Dragon's expression changed slightly. He immediately felt as if a mountain was pressing down on his body, and his movements became much slower. You can actually condense momentum? I underestimated you before. Blood Dragon's expression was indifferent. Qiongqi treasure technique, shouted Lin Feng icily. He threw a punch at the Blood Dragon. Roar! The roar shook the heavens and the earth. The vicious beast, Qiongqi, condensed and leaped out, pouncing towards Blood Dragon. Blood Dragon growled and punched out to block. Above Xuelong's right fist, endless blood light condensed. When Lin Feng had fought against Xuelong for the first time, Xuelong had used the same attack. It was a strange attack. The blood-red light swirled around the Blood Dragon's fist. It was a very powerful attack, and it ferociously smashed towards the Qiongqi. However, the current Lin Feng could not be mentioned in the same breath. A life and death experience in the desolate forest. 1 month of bitter cultivation. Lin Feng had advanced by a realm. His combat power soared. The ferocious beast Qiongqi's roar shook the sky. Together with the force emitted from Lin Feng's body, it launched an attack on the Blood Dragon. Bang! The two sides clashed fiercely. Everyone saw that Blood Dragon's blood shadow fist was broken by Qiongqi. The Qiongqi's huge claws slammed into the Blood Dragon and sent it flying. How is this possible? The Blood Dragon was repelled. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Heavens! How is Lin Feng so powerful? A month ago, Lin Feng was at a disadvantage when he fought with the Blood Dragon. How did Lin Feng become so powerful in just a month? Could it be that Lin Feng was hiding his cultivation before this? Many people discussed animatedly. No one believed that Lin Feng's cultivation had suddenly skyrocketed. Of course, nobody knew that during that 1 month, in order to increase his cultivation, Lin Feng had gone through a lot of dangerous situations. He had gone through a lot of dangerous battles and survived. Damn it! After being repelled, the Blood Dragon could not help but curse. His face was extremely gloomy, and his eyes flashed with a sinister light. He had thought that he could easily get rid of Lin Feng, but he had not expected to suffer a great loss in the first exchange between the two. How could the proud and arrogant Blood Dragon accept this? Roar! At this time, the Qiongqi beast roared and pounced toward the Blood Dragon. The Blood Dragon sneered. He stretched out his hands, and a terrifying blood-red ball of light condensed in his palms. Blood Dragon kill. The Blood Dragon let out a long roar. and suddenly pushed its hands forward. Roar! A loud dragon roar suddenly rang out. The blood-red ball of light suddenly turned into a blood-red dragon bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. It quickly rushed out and pounced on the Cheong-Chi beast. The blood dragon looked like a real blood dragon. It was lifelike and exuded a suffocating aura. What a terrifying secret technique! Is this an ancient divine ability? Many people cried out in surprise. Rumor had it that the blood dragon had a fortuitous encounter when he was young and had consumed dragon blood. His body had been transformed by the dragon blood, so his talent was abnormally strong. The reason why he was called the blood dragon was because of his talent. It was because of his signature move, the blood dragon kill. It was the powerful technique that the blood dragon was currently using, which was to condense a blood-red ball of light, using the blood-red ball of light to condense a blood dragon. The blood dragon soared to the sky, unleashing a frenzied slaughter. This was the blood dragon kill. The blood dragon collided with the Cheong-Chi beast. Rumble! The battle stage shook violently as the two beasts clashed. This Lin Feng is condensing a Cheong-Chi beast. Looks like this Lin Feng also grasped an ancient divine ability's inheritance. He's also a person with great fortune. Even in ancient forces, only the core disciples could cultivate these kinds of inheritances. Our true martial country doesn't have this kind of inheritance. He probably had a fortuitous encounter. Some of the Azure Dragon Institute's higher-ups were discussing. Right at this moment, the Crimson Dragon slapped the Cheong-Chi, flying with its claw. After that, the Crimson Dragon quickly arrived in front of the Cheong-Chi, opened its bloody mouth, and bit down on the Cheong-Chi's head. The Cheong-Chi beast dissipated into nothingness. Lin Feng's Cheong-Chi treasure technique was broken by the blood dragon's blood dragon kill. What a powerful blood dragon kill! Lin Feng's secret technique was broken. This time, Lin Feng is in danger. Many people exclaimed in shock. Groan! The gigantic blood dragon roared, bared its fangs, and brandished its claws as it threw itself at Lin Feng. An endless amount of blood-red lights enveloped Lin Feng and enveloped him. Not good. Lin Feng can't dodge the blood dragon's attack. Its speed is too fast. Then isn't he dead for sure? Many people exclaimed in shock. The Dragon Gate's Long Shiyu, Xiao Yifei, Zi Yuan, and the others were looking at the battle stage nervously and worriedly. The blood dragon's attack was too powerful. The blood dragon opened its bloody maw, aiming to swallow Lin Feng whole. Lin Feng was about to be swallowed by the blood dragon, but at that moment, everyone saw Lin Feng's hands turn into a black hole. When the blood dragon pounced on him, the black hole started to distort violently, emitting terrifying fluctuations. The blood dragon was directly swallowed by the black hole. After swallowing the blood dragon, Lin Feng's aura was even more terrifying than before. Boom! An incomparably terrifying aura emerged from Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng stepped forward. His force was even more terrifying. Lin Feng took a step forward. Suddenly, a gale swept out. Lin Feng's force was too strong. It had formed a gale. The blood dragon was suppressed by Lin Feng's force. It looked as if it had been struck by lightning. Its face was incomparably pale as it was forced to retreat. Chapter 341. Is that Lin Feng's martial spirit? It is said that it is an extremely strange, devouring martial spirit that can devour everything. Can you feel the aura emanating from Lin Feng's body? It's too powerful. Even the blood dragon was forced to retreat by the aura emanating from Lin Feng's body. Countless people were discussing as they looked at Lin Feng in shock. Now, Lin Feng was already at the 3rd level of the martial general realm and possessed the strength of 25 dragons and elephants. The strength of one dragon and elephant was equivalent to 10 dragons, and 25 dragons and elephants was equivalent to 250 dragons. With his third level martial spirit circulating, Lin Feng's strength was equivalent to 725 dragons. Of course, the truly terrifying thing about Lin Feng was that he cultivated secret techniques that allowed him to challenge those above his level, as well as the force that he had comprehended. So, at this moment, even the blood dragon was suppressed by Lin Feng. The blood dragon's expression became extremely gloomy. The blood dragon was extremely depressed. He clearly felt that his strength far exceeded Lin Feng's, but he had a feeling that he had nowhere to use his strength. The blood dragon's cultivation was at the 6th level of the martial general realm, and his strength was around 3,000 dragons. Before Lin Feng broke through, his strongest strength was only 150 dragons. The blood dragon's strength was 20 times that of Lin Feng's. Thus, in the clash in the cafeteria, the blood dragon was able to easily suppress Lin Feng. After breaking through, Lin Feng's strength could reach 725 dragons at most. The blood dragon's strength was only about 4 times that of Lin Feng's. It had also been said before that only when one's strength exceeded 10 times that one could break through 10,000 techniques. If it was within 10 times, it was hard to say who would win. This depended on the secret techniques that both sides cultivated. During a battle, one's ability to perform on the spot was extremely important. Therefore, although the blood dragon's strength surpassed Lin Feng's, it was completely normal for it to be suppressed by Lin Feng. Hegemonic Thunder Art. Lin Feng walked towards the blood dragon step by step. His hands continuously formed seals. Rumble. A series of loud noises rang out as a layer of thunderclouds appeared above the arena. Within the thunderclouds, the power of lightning intertwined. It's another ancient ability, and it's the rarest lightning ability. Many people cried out in alarm. Thunder was the power with the greatest attack power. As for all kinds of lightning's secret arts, cultivation methods, and divine abilities, they were the rarest. Even many ancient forces might not necessarily have the lightning god art. However, Lin Feng's use of this lightning ancient divine ability shocked everyone. Could it be that this guy discovered the cavern of an ancient cultivator? Many people were secretly guessing. Boom! The first thunderbolt struck down instantly. The purple lightning shot towards the blood dragon. Swish, swish, swish. The blood dragon's speed was extremely fast. He quickly flashed on the arena and dodged the first thunderbolt attack. However, before the blood dragon could stop, a second bolt of lightning struck down. The blood dragon flew into the distance again to avoid the second bolt of lightning. However, a third bolt, a fourth bolt, more and more thunderbolts descended from the sky, bombarding the blood dragon. Bang! A thunderbolt ruthlessly struck the blood dragon's body, sending him flying. Wah! The blood dragon couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The blood dragon is injured. Many people cried out in alarm. No one had expected this to happen. Before the battle, everyone had thought that the blood dragon would win. However, after the battle, the result was different from what they had imagined. From the very beginning, Lin Feng had obtained the advantage. Not the blood dragon, but now the blood dragon had been injured by Lin Feng. How could this be? The members of the blood dragon gang cried out in disbelief. Originally, the members of the blood dragon gang were arrogant and despotic in the Azure Dragon Institute. No one dared to provoke them until Lin Feng appeared. The members of the blood dragon gang had repeatedly suffered at the hands of Lin Feng. They were all waiting for the blood dragon to defeat Lin Feng and vent their anger. But now, the blood dragon was suppressed by Lin Feng to the point that he didn't have the strength to fight back. The blood dragon gang members couldn't accept this. The sovereign is too strong. On the other hand, the Dragon Gate students were looking at the battle stage with incomparable excitement. These Dragon Gate students, they were proud to be Dragon Gate students. Blood Dragon, is this all you've got? If it's limited to this, then you're really too weak. Lin Feng's cold voice resounded through the entire arena. Everyone was in a daze. There was actually someone who dared to say to the blood dragon that he was too weak. Moreover, the person who said this was merely a 17 or 18-year-old youth. This made everyone feel a sense of unreality. The blood dragon, that was the Azure Dragon Institute's #1 expert, who knew how many people had challenged the blood dragon, but all of them had suffered a crushing defeat. But now, the blood dragon was completely suppressed. Crackle, crackle, crackle. In the void, bolts of lightning blasted towards the blood dragon. Bang! The blood dragon was sent flying again. His hair was unbound. You're courting death. The blood dragon roared furiously. His face was distorted. When had the blood dragon ever been suppressed like this? At this moment, he only wanted to tear Lin Feng into pieces, to wash away the shame that Lin Feng brought to him. Dragon God transformation. At this moment, the blood dragon roared. Kacha! Kacha! Everyone heard the sound of bones rubbing against each other. Look, the blood dragon's body is changing. Someone pointed at the stage in shock. Everyone looked over, and sure enough, the blood dragon's body seemed to be growing bigger. Bang! The clothes on the blood dragon's upper body exploded. Then, the blood dragon's muscles began to expand. His body was punched in an instant. A dense layer of scales appeared on the surface of the blood dragon's body. Dragon scales, it's actually dragon scales. Many people shouted in shock. They didn't know what kind of secret technique the blood dragon had used to cover his body with dragon scales. When the dense lightning struck the blood dragon's body, all the lightning was blocked by the dragon scales. Heavens, after the blood dragon's scales, Lin Feng's attacks can't hurt him anymore. Many people shouted in shock. The blood dragon's defense was too strong. If Lin Feng couldn't even break through the blood dragon's defense, how could he fight against him? He would definitely lose. Little boy, you force me to use the divine dragon transformation. Once I use it, I can even block the attack of a cultivator of the martial king layer, let alone you. Little boy, prepare to die. The blood dragon laughed coldly and rushed towards Lin Feng. A blood shadow punch condensed a boundless blood-red light and moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng is going to die. Many people shouted in alarm. The blood dragon's defense couldn't be broken by Lin Feng. Many people thought that there was no suspense in this battle. Ha! Let's see how that little boy will die. The Blood Dragon Society's members were excited. They could already see Lin Feng being punched to death by the Blood Dragon. When they thought about that, they started trembling with excitement. Oh no, the patriarch is in danger. Long Shiyu and the others' expressions changed drastically. On the battle stage, a boundless blood-red light surrounded Lin Feng. The blood dragon's face was filled with a hideous smile. It was as if he could already see Lin Feng being punched to death. Facing the blood dragon's impenetrable defense, Lin Feng smiled coldly. "Can I break through his defense?" whispered Lin Feng. His lips curled into a cold smile. He stretched out his right hand. Boom! The lightning energy floating in the sky quickly rushed over, forming a ball of lightning that was grabbed by Lin Feng. When the blood dragon's fist came towards him, Lin Feng's left hand struck towards the blood dragon. With a loud bang, the two fists collided. Lin Feng blocked the blood dragon's fist, while the ball of lightning in his right hand pressed against the blood dragon's body. Following the earth-shaking explosion, everyone saw the ball of lightning that Lin Feng had condensed explode. The blood dragon's body was blown away, his skin and flesh lacerated. The dense dragon scales on his body were completely destroyed by the terrifying power of the explosion. The blood dragon spat out a mouthful of blood in the air and flew over 10 meters before falling to the ground. Heavens, isn't Lin Feng too strong? Shocked gazes fell on the black-clothed youth on the stage. Blood Dragon. He was ranked first on the Mountain River list. He had actually been defeated by Lin Feng. Chapter 342. GGG. Blood Dragon leaped up from the ground and let out a cry that sounded like a night owl. Everyone looked at Blood Dragon and felt their hair stand on end when they heard Blood Dragon's cry. What's wrong with Blood Dragon? Did he go crazy because he couldn't accept the truth? Someone muttered, Lin Feng is too strong. Blood Dragon can't handle Lin Feng. It's normal for Blood Dragon to lose to Lin Feng. Someone said. Everyone was nervously paying attention to what was happening on the stage. The battle had reached the most critical moment. Lin Feng and Xuelong's movements were extremely important. Everybody was worried about Lin Feng and Xuelong. Brat, I have to say, your strength has indeed exceeded my expectations. At this moment, Blood Dragon's expression suddenly returned to normal. However, everyone could hear the dense killing intent in the Blood Dragon's voice. Blood Dragon restrained all of his killing intent. At this time, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. How can this be? Isn't Blood Dragon about to lose? Why do I feel that the Blood Dragon is even scarier now? Yeah, I have the same feeling. Many people exclaimed in shock. They didn't understand what was going on. They looked at Xuelong in shock. Everyone's eyes were filled with doubt. Elder, what do you think? Wunrin Kanglin and the other Azure Dragon Institute higher-ups were also watching the battle. Someone looked at Wunrin Kanglin and asked, There's something wrong with Blood Dragon. I'm afraid he still has some terrifying moves that he hasn't used yet. Wunrin Kanglin frowned. When he looked at Lin Feng, he couldn't help but reveal a worried expression. Even an expert of his level revealed a worried expression. Clearly, even Wunrin Kanglin felt that Lin Feng wouldn't be able to block Blood Dragon's hidden killing move. It's his martial spirit. An elder said, Martial spirit. Many of the Azure Dragon Institute's higher-ups looked at the elder. The elder said, I heard that Blood Dragon's martial spirit is an extremely terrifying martial spirit. Moreover, it's a dark attribute martial spirit. Darkness-type martial soul? The Azure Dragon Institute's upper echelons sucked in a breath of cold air. The dark martial soul was the strangest and rarest type of martial soul. Every dark martial soul had an unimaginable ability. Any kind of dark martial soul was extremely terrifying. It was said that once a person with a dark martial spirit activated his dark martial spirit, he would be able to fight opponents who were much stronger than him. In other words, when the Blood Dragon awakened its own dark martial spirit, although he was only a martial general, he could ignore the huge gap in strength between him and a martial king. He could challenge a martial king expert. This was simply too shocking. However, the dark martial soul was too rare. Therefore, everyone had only heard about the dark martial soul, but had never seen it before. On the arena, Blood Dragon suddenly walked up step by step. Shocking waves were released from Blood Dragon's dantian. Balls of black gas surged out and covered the entire arena. Above the arena, black fog lingered. Everyone could only see Lin Feng's blurry figure, while Blood Dragon disappeared without a trace. That's a dark martial soul. The Fire Qilin, who was watching the battle from a distant rooftop, was shocked. Any dark martial soul is extremely terrifying and has unimaginable abilities. I wonder which blood dragon's dark martial soul is. At this moment, even the Fire Cheelant's expression became serious. Before this, he had been watching the battle with a relaxed attitude. But now, seeing the blood dragon release his dark martial soul, he couldn't help but worry for Lin Feng. Why can't I feel blood dragon's aura? Look, there's only a blurry figure on the arena. That must be Lin Feng. Blood dragon has disappeared. Many people cried out in alarm. The Azure Dragon Institute's upper echelon's faces also changed. Wenren Kanglin and the others even extended their divine senses, using their divine senses to scan everything that was happening on the stage. They felt Lin Feng's aura with their divine sense, but they couldn't find Blood Dragon's aura. It disappeared, Lin Feng muttered. Just like that, Blood Dragon disappeared from sight. The surroundings were shrouded in black fog, but Blood Dragon had disappeared without a trace. Just a moment ago, it was clearly on the opposite side. Lin Feng used his divine sense to search for Blood Dragon's whereabouts. No, I can't sense it. Blood Dragon has disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng's expression became incomparably serious. The method that the Blood Dragon used was really too strange. Is that his martial soul? Why did he disappear? Lin Feng frowned. He looked around the arena. There was only a faint black fog, but there was no trace of Blood Dragon. Disappeared. Blood Dragon really disappeared. This martial soul is too terrifying. No wonder it's said that people with dark martial souls can fight opponents who are a lot stronger than them. We are all Martial King Realm cultivators, but we can't sense where Blood Dragon is. A great elder said with a bitter smile, if they couldn't sense where Blood Dragon was hiding, then Blood Dragon could launch a sneak attack. One could imagine if they were ambushed by Blood Dragon. Even a Martial King Realm expert wouldn't be able to withstand it. After all, they were all made of flesh and blood. In the arena, Lin Feng looked around with a grave expression. Behind Lin Feng, a silhouette appeared soundlessly. Nobody knew how he had appeared. It was Blood Dragon. He had appeared behind Lin Feng. Blood Dragon's mouth was full of a sinister expression. He threw a palm towards Lin Feng. Behind. Lin Feng's reaction speed was extremely fast. When Blood Dragon attacked, he sensed the aura behind him. His expression suddenly changed. Lin Feng turned around and threw an attack behind him. But who would have thought that his attack would miss? Blood Dragon appeared on Lin Feng's left and threw a punch. Bang! This punch fiercely hit Lin Feng's body, and Lin Feng was immediately sent flying. Thump! 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 Lin Feng took more than 10 steps back before he could stop. He felt a terrifying force enter his body, trying to destroy it. Lin Feng hurriedly circulated the immemorial dragonesque elephant art to suppress the terrifying force that entered his body. You're fine after taking my attack. How can your body be so strong? Shouted Blood Dragon. He couldn't believe it. Lin Feng hadn't been able to block that attack at all. Even a martial king would vomit blood from the attack. But Lin Feng was fine. Wasn't his body too strong? Blood Dragon couldn't help but feel a deep sense of jealousy. How could this kid have such a terrifying body? What martial soul do you have? Lin Feng asked solemnly. Darkness. Black fog martial soul. I am the black fog. The black fog is me. I can turn into any black fog. And any black fog. I can also turn into me. Blood Dragon's lips curled into a cold smile. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I will break every bone in your body and destroy your dantian. You'll become a complete cripple. In the end, you'll be like a dog wagging its tail in front of me and begging me to let you live. As soon as he finished speaking, Blood Dragon disappeared. Chapter 343. The blood dragon's arrogant words still echoed in his ears as if they hadn't dissipated. However, he had disappeared without a trace again. The blood dragon's martial soul is really terrifying. He disappeared again. This is simply an invincible martial soul. There's no way to fight against it. Yes, this martial soul is too heaven-defying. Facing this martial soul, Lin Feng can't do anything. This is a situation where he will definitely lose. If I were Lin Feng, I would admit defeat now. This way, I can still save my life. If I don't admit defeat now, I'm afraid I won't have a good ending. Many people were discussing animatedly as they watched the battle in the arena with solemn expressions. Many people used their divine senses to search for the blood dragon's figure, but they found nothing. In the arena, there was only Lin Feng and the black fog that lingered around the entire arena. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He knew that he was in trouble. This was the first time he had seen such a strange martial soul. As expected, there were thousands of martial souls in the world. There were always some martial souls that had unimaginable abilities. For example, the blood dragon's martial soul was too strange. Swoosh! Behind him, a cold light flashed, and the blood dragon appeared again. He held a short blade that could cut iron like mud and stab towards Lin Feng. The blood dragon's attack hadn't managed to injure Lin Feng. This guy knew that Lin Feng's physical defense was too strong. It was not easy to use a secret technique to break Lin Feng's physical defense. Therefore, this guy directly used his weapon. The short blade flashed with a cold light and stabbed towards Lin Feng. The attack was about to stab Lin Feng. Swoosh! However, suddenly, Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Fast! His speed was too fast. Lin Feng's clone, the golden-winged Rock King's clone, allowed Lin Feng to have extreme speed. He moved short distances as fast as teleportation. This sudden stab pierced nothing but air. The blood dragon's pupils contracted violently. Even he did not notice how Lin Feng had disappeared. Suddenly, Blood Dragon felt a strong gust of wind coming from the left. Lin Feng appeared out of nowhere and swept his leg toward Blood Dragon. Blood Dragon raised his hand to block. Bang! Crack! Although the Blood Dragon blocked this attack, its arm was broken by Lin Feng. The Blood Dragon did not have Lin Feng's abnormally strong and terrifying body. Heavens, it can't be! Blood Dragon was injured by Lin Feng again. Many people were dumbfounded. After Blood Dragon had used his dark martial spirit, everyone felt that Lin Feng would definitely lose. However, Blood Dragon was the one who was injured, which made everyone feel incredulous. The fire unicorn nodded in satisfaction and murmured to himself, Lin Feng has been fighting against so many ferocious beasts. His intuition is as sharp as a ferocious beast's. When danger comes, he can always predict it in advance. The most terrifying thing is that he can control his golden wings. He can take advantage of every moment and use his speed to its maximum. That's how he managed to injure the Blood Dragon, who has a dark spirit. That kind of perfect use of his golden wings is not something that can be done by learning how to use them. It's something that can be learned through countless battles. Damn it, you actually injured me. Blood Dragon's face was extremely gloomy. In all the battles that he had used his dark martial spirit, he had never lost. This was the first time that he had been injured. Blood Dragon's anger was like a volcanic eruption. He was unable to contain his anger. Lin Feng nodded and said, Your martial spirit is terrifying, but your speed is slower than my speed of dodging. As long as I catch your chi, I can dodge your attacks. Lin Feng is really strong. If it were anyone else, they would have been scared half to death by Blood Dragon's martial spirit, but he's still so calm. Lin Feng is only 17 years old, right? I really don't know what he's been through, He's in such a dangerous situation, but he's still able to calmly deal with all kinds of dangers and crises. Many people were astonished. They put themselves in Lin Feng's shoes and tried to imagine what they would do if they were in his shoes. However, the answer made them feel like cursing themselves. Blood Dragon looked indifferent and said, "I see. You used your speed to dodge my attacks. But if all your angles were blocked, how could you use your speed to dodge my attacks?" Blood Dragon's lips curled into a sinister smile. A moment later, he disappeared again. Lin Feng looked around indifferently. Swish! Suddenly, a cold light appeared behind him. Blood Dragon appeared with a short blade in his hand and charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng originally wanted to dodge the attack, but he hadn't thought that another blood dragon would appear on his left, front, and right. There were 4 blood dragons on his left, back, front, and right. They were all holding short blades as they charged towards Lin Feng. The 4 blood dragons blocked all 4 directions, making it impossible for Lin Feng to dodge. This attack was simply too frightening. Why are there 4 blood dragons? If the 4 blood dragons attack at the same time, Lin Feng's speed advantage will disappear. One is his real body, and the other 3 are condensed by Blood Dragon's martial spirit. His real body can instantly switch between the condensed dark clones. The Blood Dragon's martial spirit has such an ability. How monstrous! Then Lin Feng will definitely lose. Sai, losing is the best outcome. Do you think the Blood Dragon will let Lin Feng off so easily? Many people started talking. When they thought about the Blood Dragon's personality, their expressions changed. Lin Feng would suffer a fate worse than death if he fell into the Blood Dragon's hands. The 4 blood dragons were all holding short blades as they attacked Lin Feng. In the narrow space, Lin Feng moved quickly, dodging the 4 blood dragons' attacks. Each time, he managed to dodge a fatal attack. At the same time, Lin Feng released his devouring martial spirit. His devouring martial spirit started devouring the black fog around the battle stage. At the same time, Lin Feng used his magnetic field to restrict the blood dragon's speed. But he realized that his magnetic field had failed. The black fog around the battle stage. After devouring it, it would appear again, said the blood dragon, smiling coldly. "I've heard that you have a devouring martial spirit. It seems like it's also a kind of dark martial spirit. But dark martial spirits can't affect each other. Your devouring martial spirit can't destroy my black fog martial spirit." "Is that so?" said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. "Devouring martial spirit's ultimate form. Activate!" shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. The 3 devouring martial spirits started fusing together. Chapter 344. The 3 martial souls exuded a shocking fluctuation. Under Lin Feng's control, the 3 devouring martial souls began to merge. This was the ultimate form of Lin Feng's martial soul. The 3 martial souls had merged into one. According to the classification of martial souls, Lin Feng's martial soul belonged to the darkness martial soul, just as the blood dragon had said. This was because the devouring martial soul was a twisted black hole. In terms of the devouring martial soul's ability to bind and devour, it belonged to the darkness martial soul. Lin Feng's devouring martial soul was different from ordinary darkness martial souls. His martial soul had evolved from the ultimate form of a grade 10 martial soul. A grade 10 martial soul was known as the ultimate form of a martial soul. However, Lin Feng's martial soul had evolved again and surpassed the grade 10 martial soul. 3 black holes had appeared. His martial soul had surpassed Fan Tao's darkness martial soul. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying aura emanated from Lin Feng's Dantian. The 3 martial souls had fused together perfectly. An even larger devouring martial soul, appeared in Lin Feng's dantian. When Lin Feng's three martial souls merged, Lin Feng felt that his strength was increasing crazily. He felt that he could capture the sun and moon with his hands and crush mountains and rivers with his feet. In Lin Feng's dantian, the ultimate form of the devouring martial soul revolved crazily. A terrifying devouring power surged out, and the endless black fog was devoured by the devouring martial soul. It's useless. Unless you have a light martial soul, you won't be able to break through my darkness, martial soul. Blood Dragon's face was filled with a cold smile. Lin Feng's devouring martial soul was devouring the black fog. The Blood Dragon was producing even more black fog. Soon, the Blood Dragon's face changed drastically. The fog was getting thinner and thinner. The speed at which he produced the black fog was much slower than the speed at which Lin Feng's devouring martial soul was devouring the black fog. Hey, look, the black fog in the arena is getting thinner. What's going on? The black fog is formed by the Blood Dragon's darkness, martial soul. Why is it getting thinner? Many people looked at the arena in confusion. How is this possible? Blood Dragon roared in disbelief. Dark martial spirits can't suppress each other. Why is your dark martial spirit suppressing mine? Lin Feng sneered and said, dark martial spirits are also divided into strong and weak. Boom! In the next moment, an even more powerful devouring force surged out and devoured a large amount of black fog. Even the three darkness clones that the Blood Dragon had created with his dark, martial soul flew quickly toward Lin Feng's dantian. The three clones shrunk rapidly and were devoured by Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit. No, that's impossible. The Blood Dragon couldn't accept what was happening and roared furiously. His dark martial soul was almost invincible, but now it was actually broken by someone. This was a huge blow to the Blood Dragon. Nothing is impossible. Lin Feng sneered. Like an eagle soaring through the sky, he flew towards the Blood Dragon. With a direct attack, he attacked the Blood Dragon. Bang! With a muffled boom, the Crimson Dragon was sent flying. Wah! The Blood Dragon spat out large mouthfuls of blood in the air. Crack! 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 Many of the Blood Dragon's bones were broken. Lin Feng was about to rush out and completely cripple the Blood Dragon. Against an enemy, Lin Feng would never show mercy. However, just as he was about to cripple the Blood Dragon, a cold killing intent suddenly enveloped him. How terrifying! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. The killing intent was too terrifying. A Yin-Yang realm expert, Lin Feng took a deep breath. There was actually an Yin-Yang realm expert spying on everything in the area. Moreover, he was threatening him. Damn it! Lin Feng couldn't help but curse. He didn't dare act rashly with an Yin-Yang realm expert hiding in the dark. Plop! The Blood Dragon fell heavily to the ground and didn't move. He was breathing heavily and was clearly heavily injured. The Blood Dragon lost. No one knew who was the first to speak. Following that, the entire square was filled with shouts. Blood Dragon, the #1 expert of the Mountain River list. He actually lost. Shocked gazes landed on the handsome black, clothed youth on the stage. It was him who had defeated the Blood Dragon. 17 years old. This Lin Feng is only 17 years old. He is truly a peerless monster. No wonder the Institute Master has been paying attention to him. The higher-ups of the Azure Dragon Institute lamented. Lost. He actually lost. The Blood Dragon Society members were stunned. They were all in a daze, as if they couldn't believe that it was real. As for the Dragon Sect members, they let out deafening cheers. Lin Feng flew down the stage and walked towards the Dragon Sect members. He returned to the crowd and closed his eyes to rest. The Mountain River list ranking competition had officially begun with the end of the battle between Lin Feng and the Blood Dragon. Late at night, in Shangguan Zhengxiong's study. Fei, in this year, you have done well in Mercenary Town. Many of the family elders are very satisfied with you. Shangguan Zhengxiong smiled. Shangguan Zhengxiong looked to be around 50 years old. He had a sturdy body, but his face was pale. Because he had suffered an injury in his early years, he had never been able to recover. His body condition was not ideal. This was also the reason why Shangguan Zhengxiong was in a hurry to groom his successor. Thank you, Father, for your praise. Shangguan Fei bowed slightly. We are father and daughter talking. You don't have to be so restrained. These years, I have indeed wronged you and your mother. Fei, Father's body is getting worse day by day, and I only have the three of you. Mo, is fond of grandiose achievements. His eyes are too high, he does things rashly, and his personality is extreme. He is not suitable to be in charge of the Mercenary Association. Sai, let's not talk about him. Let's not talk about him. It seemed like he was extremely disappointed with Shangguan Li and was unwilling to talk about him. Shangguan Zhengxiong looked at Fei, and said, Now, there is the great clan elders faction eyeing the position of patriarch covetously. Father has already contacted a few of the clan elders. In 3 days, in the family meeting, you will be the successor. After the 3 years of training ends, you can officially become the patriarch. Shangguan Fei said, Father, I'm afraid this matter will not be easy. Shangguan Zhengxiong said, Father naturally knows that there will be many obstacles, but don't worry, Father has already considered everything. I only hope that in the future, when you inherit the position of patriarch, you can continue to expand the Mercenary Association. At the same time, you can get along well with Mo, and Li, no matter how bad they were in the past. They are still your brothers, flowing the same blood. Fei, will remember. Shangguan Fei replied. All right, you can go. Shangguan Zhengxiong said. Fei, farewell. Shangguan Fei bowed slightly, then left. After Shangguan Fei left, a figure walked out from the corner of the room. It was actually Shangguan Mo. Shangguan Mo's eyes were filled with a sinister light. Father, oh Father, you would actually rather pass the position of patriarch to a lowly servant's daughter than pass it to me. Since you are so heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. As he said that, Shangguan Mo's face was filled with killing intent. Chapter 345. Family meeting? Is there going to be one? Hearing Shangguan Fei mention the family meeting, Lin Feng suddenly remembered what Shangguan Fei had told him a year ago. Shangguan Fei nodded and said, Father said that during the family meeting, I will be chosen as the successor, and in the future, I will be in charge of the Mercenary Association. Lin Feng pulled Shangguan Fei into his embrace and said, The leader of the real Wu country's Mercenary Association will become a peerless beauty like you. Who knows how many people will fight to join the Mercenary Association? So hateful. Shangguan Fei humphed. Lin Feng asked, When will it be held? The day after tomorrow morning. Shangguan Fei said, At that time, I will go and support you, and at the same time, pay my respects to Annie. Lin Feng said with a smile. Shangguan Fei's face flushed red, and she muttered, All right, when Mother sees you, she will be very happy. Seeing Shangguan Fei's bashful look, Lin Feng felt an evil fire rising in his lower abdomen, and he directly carried her up and walked towards the bed. Shangguan Fei naturally knew what Lin Feng wanted to do, and she struggled with a red face. No, it is daytime now. People will hear us. How am I supposed to face others? We are all going to the mountain river list ranking tournament. What are you afraid of? Doing it in the day is more interesting, Lin Feng said with a smile. Not long after, Shangguan Fei, soft panting could be heard from the room. Late at night, Shangguan Mo and the great elder Shangguan Qian came to Shangguan Zheng Xiong's room together. Ever since Shangguan Zheng Xiong had been injured, the great elder had been eyeing the position of family head. Seeing his son and Shangguan Qian come together, Shangguan Zheng Xiong furrowed his brow. Why are you here in the middle of the night? Shangguan Zheng Xiong asked. Shangguan Qian smiled and said, We are here for the family meeting tomorrow. Oh, Shangguan Zheng Xiong raised his eyelids and said, What does the great elder want to say? The family head's health is deteriorating day by day. Tomorrow, we should choose a successor. Shangguan Qian said with a smile. I already know what to do. I'll announce it at the family meeting tomorrow, said Lin Feng. As Shangguan Zhengxiong spoke, he started coughing violently. Shangguan Qian quickly gave Shangguan Mo a look. Shangguan Mo quickly went forward and supported Shangguan Zhengxiong, saying, Father, are you okay? Let me help you to rest. Shangguan Zhengxiong was somewhat gratified. He thought to himself that Mo still knew how to care for him. His earnest teachings these past few days were not in vain. After Mo's personality changed, he should still be entrusted with important tasks. At that time, he would assist Fei Shangguan Mo helped Shangguan Zhengxiong into the inner room. At this moment, Shangguan Qian attacked from behind Shangguan Zhengxiong, sending a palm strike towards Shangguan Zhengxiong. Shangguan Zhengxiong's cultivation was very strong. He had already felt the aura behind him. His expression changed, and he wanted to fight back, but Shangguan Mo grabbed his hand tightly. Mo, are you? Shangguan Zhengxiong looked at Shangguan Mo in disbelief. Father, your injuries are so serious. If you relapse and die, your son will be very sad, Shangguan Mo said with a sinister smile. Bang! Shangguan Qian's attack fiercely struck Shangguan Zhengxiong's body, sending him flying. Wah! Shangguan Zhengxiong spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground. He pointed at Shangguan Mo. There was no anger in his eyes, only endless sorrow. He had calculated everything, but he didn't expect that he would fall into the hands of his own son. Shangguan Zhengxiong fell to the ground, motionless. Shangguan Qian walked forward, touched his nose, and frowned slightly. Is he dead? Shangguan Mo asked. He's still alive, but he's almost become a living dead. It's not good to kill him directly. This is the best way. His old injuries relapse, and he becomes a living dead. Move him to the bed, and let someone take care of him. Without our orders, no one can come and see him. Shangguan Qian said with a cold smile. Shangguan Mo nodded, and threw Shangguan Zhengxiong on the bed, as if he was a corpse. He couldn't be bothered to look at him. Shangguan Mo said, Can I become the clan leader tomorrow? I'll have to rely on the great elder. Shangguan Qian smiled and said, Now that Shangguan Zhengxiong has become a living dead, who can fight against us? As for that Shangguan Fei, she's just a little girl. Without Shangguan Zhengxiong's support, what is she? The position of clan leader will definitely be young Master Mo. That's great, said Lin Feng. Shangguan Mo was overjoyed. Shangguan Qian sneered in his heart. Trash like you becoming the clan leader will only be this old man's puppet. The power of the Shangguan clan and the Mercenary Association will finally fall into my hands. The next morning, Lin Feng headed towards the Shangguan clan. At the same time, the Shangguan clan's clan meeting officially started. All 16 elders of the Shangguan clan were present. Besides the 16 elders, there was Shangguan Mo, Shangguan Fei, Shangguan Li. The children of the 3 clan leaders were also present. It's getting late. Let's start now. Shangguan Qian said indifferently. The fifth elder, Shangguan Run, said, "The clan leader hasn't arrived yet. What's the rush?" Shangguan Mo said, before the clan meeting, Father said that he wasn't feeling well, so he won't be coming. Father has given full authority to the great elder Shangguan Qian to preside over this clan meeting. What? Shangguan Fei, Shangguan Run, and the rest of the clan leaders' faces changed slightly. Shangguan Fei, said, "Father values this clan meeting very much. How could he be absent? I'll go see him." Shangguan Fei, stood up and walked out. Shangguan Mo sneered, "Men!" Swish asterisk. In an instant, more than 10 Shangguan clan experts with weapons blocked the exit. Shangguan Mo, what is the meaning of this? Shangguan Fei, said coldly. Shangguan Mo didn't say anything, but Shangguan Qian said, "Young Master Mo has already said that the clan leader has given me the authority to preside over this clan meeting. So, Miss Fei, please return to your seat." You. Shangguan Fei's face turned ugly. She could only sigh and return to her seat. "In this clan meeting, we will propose a new successor to the clan leader, and the person I propose is Shangguan Mo." The first elder Shangguan Qian's lips curled up in a cold smile. At the same time, Lin Feng had already arrived outside the Shangguan clan. "Little brat, stop right there." The guard stopped Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "My name is Lin Feng. Your Miss Fei, asked me to come here, and I'm sure she has already informed you." "What, Lin Feng? We are the first elder's men, not Shangguan Fei's men. Shangguan Fei, can't order us around. Scram as far as you can. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." The guard leader said with a cold smile. Lin Feng furrowed his brow. He had heard Shangguan Fei mention that the first elder of the Shangguan clan, Shangguan Qian, had always been eyeing the position of clan leader. Now that the clan meeting was at such a crucial time, how could Shangguan Qian be in charge of guarding the Shangguan clan? Could it be that something has happened? Lin Feng's expression changed abruptly. He quickly walked towards the Shangguan clan mansion. "Little brat, you're seeking death." The guard leader shouted angrily, sending a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand, and a dense lightning energy intertwined. Pung asterisk, the guard leader was sent flying, many of his bones broken as he crashed to the ground, his life or death unknown. "Whoever dares to stop me will die." A bone-chilling voice rang out. Chapter 346. The great elder said that nobody can go in. "If anyone goes in, we'll all die. Let's attack together. I don't think he can defeat so many of us." One of the guards shouted loudly. Whoosh. The next moment, he pulled out his long saber. "Yeah, let's go together and chop this brat up." The rest of the people also pulled out their weapons, and more than a dozen guards rushed towards Lin Feng. "You're courting death." Lin Feng waved his right hand. Crackle! Dense thunderbolts intertwined and blasted toward the dozen guards. Bang! Following that, sounds of violent collisions could be heard. The guards were all sent flying by the power of lightning. Their flesh was lacerated, and they fell to the ground, unable to move. Lin Feng stepped into the Shangguan clan. The current Shangguan clan was extremely strange. In the huge mansion, there were no servants or servants. There were only armed guards patrolling the Shangguan clan. These people were all experts that Shangguan Qian had secretly mobilized overnight to seal off the Shangguan clan. Obviously, Shangguan Qian had planned this for a long time. Who dares to barge into the Shangguan clan's mansion? "Are you courting death?" shouted some people in an ice-cold way. Over 100 guards rushed towards Lin Feng. "Tell me where the meeting is, and I'll spare your lives. Otherwise, You'll all die. Lin Feng's eyes had already become extremely cold. Since so many great elders' guards had appeared in the Shangguan clan, it was obvious that something had happened to the Shangguan clan. Lin Feng was burning with anxiety. I wonder how Shangguan Fei is doing. If anything happened to Shangguan Fei, Lin Feng didn't dare to imagine such a situation. Brat, I think you're just here to die. Kill this brat. One of the guards shouted loudly. Immediately, over 100 guards rushed towards Lin Feng. There will always be people who want to die. Lin Feng moved. Swish, he was like an afterimage. Puff, puff, puff. Streaks of blood splattered everywhere. Lin Feng used his palm as a saber. With every slash, a guard would be killed on the spot. Whoosh! Lin Feng quickly flashed past. There were already hundreds of people lying on the ground. He walked into the depths with an indifferent expression. Don't let anything happen to you. Otherwise, I'll slaughter your entire family. The killing intent in Lin Feng's eyes grew stronger and stronger. To Lin Feng, Shangguan Fei had given all her love to him. As for Shangguan Fei, this was Lin Feng's reverse scale. Dragons had reverse scales, and those who touched them would die. Whoever dared to harm Shangguan Fei, Lin Feng would make them regret ever being born into this world. Brat, who are you? How dare you commit murder in the Shangguan clan? Another 200 or so people rushed over. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was thin, and his face was gloomy. This person was called Shangguan Yu. He was the son of the great elder Shangguan Qian. He was the one who had sent people to seal off the entire Shangguan clan. Where will the family meeting be held? Speak. Stay alive. Don't say it. Die. Lin Feng's voice, which seemed to have come from the depths of hell, rang out once again. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines when they heard Lin Feng's voice. You're courting death. Arrows, kill him. Shangguan Yu shouted coldly. These guards immediately took out their arrows. More than 200 of them drew their bows and shot. Swish, 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 a dense rain of arrows shot towards Lin Feng. If it were to hit him, he would definitely turn into a hornet's nest. Brat, let's see how you'll die. Shangguan Yu's face was full of cold killing intent. Lin Feng raised both of his hands as the dense rain of arrows shot towards him. Buzz. A spatial magnetic field appeared around him. All of the arrows were frozen in midair, unable to move forward at all. Heavens! What kind of technique is this? The guards all had dumbfounded expressions on their faces. Seeing the densely packed arrows floating around Lin Feng, they all felt their scalps go numb. Lin Feng's hands suddenly shook. Swish, swish, swish. The arrows changed direction and shot towards the guards. Quickly dodge. Many people screamed in horror. PFFF. PFFF. However, the speed of the arrows was simply too fast. The guards' bodies were pierced by the arrows. Some of them were directly killed. Some of them were seriously injured and fell to the ground, screaming miserably. There were also some who managed to dodge the arrows. Brat, you're courting death, shouted Shangguan Yu furiously while throwing himself at Lin Feng. Divine Dragon Fist. He roared and punched towards Lin Feng. Above him, the fist energy was condensing into the shape of a divine dragon. You're at the second heavenly layer of the general realm. You're too weak. Lin Feng muttered, Qiongqi's treasure technique. Roar. The Qiongqi roared and slapped with its claws. With a loud bang, Shangguan Yu was sent flying by the punch. Crack, crack. Countless bones in his body were broken. Heavens! Even Lord Shangguan Yu, a general, was beaten half to death in one move. How terrifying is that youth? The guards were all frightened by this scene and quickly retreated, not daring to come forward. No one dared to provoke Lin Feng, a peerless killing god. Swish! Lin Feng jumped a few dozen meters and arrived in front of Shang Guanyu in the blink of an eye. He grabbed Shang Guanyu. "Where will the family meeting be held?" Lin Feng looked at Shang Guanyu coldly. "Inside." Shang Guanyu pointed towards the depths of the clan in fear. Lin Feng carried Shang Guanyu and walked towards the depths of the Shangguan clan. When Shangguan Qian suggested that Shangguan Mo be the successor of the family head, the entire hall fell silent. Shangguan Ren said coldly, "The family head has already informed us in advance that Miss Fei will be the successor of the family head. Miss Fei is the best choice, be it in terms of character or ability to cause trouble." Hearing that Shangguan Ren supported Shangguan Fei, Shangguan Mo looked at Shangguan Ren with killing intent. "What nonsense are you spouting? The family head supports young Master Shangguan Mo, not Miss Fei. The family head personally told me this. How can it be false? Since the family head and I both support young Master Shangguan Mo, young Master Mo is the most suitable candidate for the position of successor." Shangguan Qian said coldly, "Shangguan Qian, don't you dare speak nonsense. I will go and see the family head now. At that time, it will be clear who the successor of the family head is." Shangguan Ren walked outside. "Shangguan Ren, you old bastard, do you want to die? You dare to question me, and the family head? You are offending your superiors. Today, I will clean up the family on behalf of the family head." Shangguan Qian shouted coldly. Suddenly, he exploded and struck a palm toward Shangguan Ren. Shangguan Qian was a martial king, and although Shangguan Ren was very strong, he was only at the 10th heavenly layer of the martial general realm. Bang! Both sides collided. Kacha-kacha! Shangguan Ren's attack was broken. Shangguan Qian's terrifying attack landed on Shangguan Ren's chest. Kacha-kacha! Shangguan Ren's chest caved in, and he vomited blood. He fell to the ground and twitched violently. It looked like he would not survive. "No, third grandfather!" Shangguan Fei cried out in pain. She quickly ran over and knelt in front of Shangguan Ren to help him up. All these years, the mother and daughter pair did not have any status in the family. They had been bullied since they were young. All these years, Shangguan Ren had been protecting them. If it wasn't for Shangguan Ren, Shangguan Fei knew that in the Shangguan clan, it would be hard to say whether she would still be alive. To put it bluntly, Shangguan Fei and Shangguan Ren were closer than Shangguan Zhengxiong. But now, Shangguan Ren was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Fei, good girl, don't cry. Live on." Shangguan Ren said with difficulty. His body twitched violently and blood kept coming out of his mouth. "Third grandpa, don't die." Shangguan Fei cried painfully. "Everyone, the traitor Shangguan Ren has been executed. Now, Shangguan Mo will be the clan leader's successor. Does anyone have any objections?" Shangguan Qian's sinister voice rang out. Everyone was shocked by Shangguan Qian's ruthlessness. When they thought about how the clan leader, Shangguan Zhengxiong, did not attend the clan leaders' meeting, they sighed and shook their heads. When Shangguan Qian saw that no one had any objections, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. "I object." However, at that moment, a voice came from outside. Everyone was shocked and looked outside one after another. He saw a young man carrying Shangguanyu and walking toward the hall step by step. Chapter 347. That young man is carrying Shangguanyu. Everyone was shocked. No matter what, Shangguanyu was still a martial general, right? How could he be captured by a young man? It was inconceivable. "Lin Feng, run!" Shangguan Qian is a martial king. You're not his match. Shangguan Fei shouted worriedly when she saw Lin Feng. Shangguan Qian could even kill Shangguan Run, who was from the same clan. How could Lin Feng do that? Shangguan Fei was kneeling in front of an old man who was on the verge of death. Lin Feng guessed that the old man was an elder who had a close relationship with Shangguan Fei. Shangguan Fei's eyes were red from crying, and he knew how much pain she was in. Indeed, something had happened. Just as he had guessed, something had happened to the Shangguan clan. Lin Feng was glad that he had arrived in time. "Father, save me!" Shangguan Yu screamed. Shouted Shangguan Yu with a horrible shriek. He had been severely injured by Lin Feng. At that moment, he couldn't fight back. "Little brat, who are you? How dare you barge into the Shangguan clan? Let go of you, or I'll tear you to pieces." Shangguan Qian roared. "Oh, this is your son? You want him?" Lin Feng's lips curved into a cold smile. Shangguan Qian said coldly, "Hurry up and let him go." "For you." Lin Feng slapped Shangguan Yu's body, and a hidden energy entered Shangguan Yu's body. Shangguan Yu was sent flying. "Little brat, I'll take your life later." Shangguan Qian rushed towards Shangguan Yu, wanting to catch him. Swoosh! At that moment, Lin Feng had already rushed into the main hall. So fast, everyone's eyelids twitched. Damn, it's that murderous god. When Shangguan Li saw Lin Feng, he couldn't help but shrink back. "Useless thing." Shangguan Mo coldly glanced at Shangguan Li. "Lin Feng, hurry up and leave. Don't worry about me. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to." Shangguan Fei said anxiously. Lin Feng replied, "Don't worry. Everything is up to me. I'll send anyone who dares to bully my Lin Feng's woman to the 18 levels of hell." That cold voice suddenly resounded in the hall. Many people felt a chill run down their spines. This was a very strange feeling. He was clearly just a young man. Why did everyone have such a feeling? At this moment, Shangguan Qian had already caught Shangguan Yu. Are you all right?" Shangguan Qian asked. Shangguan Yu wanted to say something, but in the next moment, kacha, kacha, kacha. Within Shangguan Yu's body, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. The hidden power that Lin Feng sent into Shangguan Yu's body exploded. All the bones in Shangguan Yu's body were directly broken. Wow. Shangguan Yu spat out a mouthful of blood and died. You died so miserably." Shangguan Qian roared, his face distorted. He only had this one son, and now he was killed by Lin Feng. Endless killing intent, endless hatred exploded in Shangguan Qian's chest. Shangguan Yu is dead. The elders of the Shangguan clan were shocked. They did not expect that young man to be so decisive, even daring to kill Shangguan Yu. This was completely offending Shangguan Qian. Take, Fei, away. Shangguan Run was still breathing, and he grabbed Lin Feng's hand as he stuttered. Lin Feng was very touched. The old man was about to die, but he was still thinking about Shangguan Fei. This was kinship. Sob, sob, sob. Third grandpa, don't die. Shangguan Fei cried in pain. Senior, don't worry. You'll be fine. Lin Feng took out a medicinal pill and fed it to Shangguan Ren. Shangguan Ren's aura, which was about to disappear completely, gradually grew stronger. What kind of medicinal pill is that? The elders of the Shangguan clan felt their eyelids twitch. A dying man had actually been saved by a medicinal pill. How miraculous! What kind of medicinal pill was that? He wondered who this young man was. Great, this is great. Third grandpa won't die. Shangguan Fei was extremely excited when she saw that Shangguan Ren's aura was stabilizing. She was crying and laughing at the same time. Little bastard, I'll take your life. I'll grind your bones to dust and take revenge for you. Shang Qian was on the verge of madness. He roared and charged into the main hall, smashing the table with a palm strike before charging towards Lin Feng. For your own selfish desires, you even killed your own brother. How dare you call yourself a human? Today, I'll clean up the Shangguan clan. Lin Feng laughed coldly and leaped forward. Little bastard, you're just a mere general, and you dare to boast so shamelessly in front of me? You really don't know the meaning of death. Shang Qian's face was filled with a ferocious smile as he threw a palm strike at Lin Feng. That palm strike was extremely domineering. That was the strength of a martial king. A martial king. In the blink of an eye, the heavens fell, and the earth cracked. Cultivators of that level had already begun to comprehend Tao and laws. After another transformation, they would become yin-yang cultivators who had comprehended Tao and laws. Therefore, this realm was extremely terrifying. A martial king realm cultivator could almost instantly kill a martial general realm cultivator. That little brat is done, for the elders of the Shangguan clan all cried out in alarm. They were all martial kings, so they knew how terrifying Shangguan Qian was. They didn't believe that Lin Feng would be able to block Shangguan Qian's attack. Die! Die! Shangguan Mo's face was filled with a ferocious smile. That little brat is going to die. That's great. Shangguan Li was also excited. He still remembered how Lin Feng had taught him a lesson. Be careful. Shangguan Fei's beautiful face became as pale as a sheet of paper. The ultimate form of the devouring martial spirit, the fusion of 3 devouring martial spirits. Lin Feng shouted in a low voice. Boom! The 3 devouring martial spirits fused and condensed a spatial magnetic field. That spatial magnetic field instantly enveloped Shangguan Qian. Shangguan Qian's speed was greatly reduced. You have such a martial spirit. Little bastard, your cultivation level is too low. You can't do anything to me. Shangguan Qian laughed ferociously. However, in the next moment, Shangguan Qian suddenly hugged his head and screamed in pain. Lin Feng's true killing move wasn't the devouring martial spirit. It was the soul sword. When Shangguan Qian attacked, with his full strength, his spirit fused together, and his defense was perfect. Lin Feng's soul sword couldn't enter Shangguan Qian's mind and injure his soul. Lin Feng knew that if he fought against Shangguan Qian in this state, he would definitely die. However, just now, Lin Feng had used the devouring martial spirit to reduce Shangguan Qian's speed, causing Shangguan Qian to be distracted. When Shangguan Qian was filled with disdain towards Lin Feng's spatial magnetic field, his spirit relaxed, and a flaw appeared. This was Lin Feng's chance. Lin Feng used the soul sword to injure Shangguan Qian's soul. My head, it hurts so much. My head is going to split open. Shangguan Qian roared in pain. What's going on? What's going on? Everyone was dumbfounded. Swoosh! A black light flashed. The black dragon sword appeared in Lin Feng's hand. Lin Feng shouted in a low voice and slashed out with his sword. Poof! Blood splattered. Shangguan Qian's head flew into the sky. Next, the headless corpse fell to the ground. Chapter 348. Shangguan Qian has been killed. Heavens! How is this possible? Shangguan Qian is a martial king. How could he be killed by a young man? Everybody couldn't believe their eyes. Everybody was looking at Lin Feng with fear in their eyes. This young man was too terrifying. Even an expert like Shangguan Qian had been killed by him. Pervert, he's too perverted. Shangguan Li was so scared that his whole body trembled. He quickly said, "Brother-in-law, you're finally here. It's all Shangguan Mo and Shangguan Qian's doing. It has nothing to do with me." No, this can't be true. Shangguan couldn't believe it. He was about to succeed. But in the end, it was all for naught. Lin Feng's arrival, he had completely destroyed his chances of becoming the clan leader. Bang! Lin Feng kicked Shangguan Mo was sent flying by Lin Feng. Pooh! He spat out a mouthful of blood. My Dantian, you actually crippled me. Shangguan Mo looked at Lin Feng with eyes full of hatred. I've actually become a cripple. I'm finished. I'm really finished. Shangguan Mo pounced towards Lin Feng, but he was once again sent flying by Lin Feng's kick. Killing a person like you would only dirty my sword. Shangguan Li, find someone to tie him up. Lin Feng said coldly. Yes, yes, yes. Men, hurry up and tie up Shangguan Mo. Shangguan Li shouted. Shangguan Li was now scared out of his wits by Lin Feng. He was only worried that Lin Feng would take his anger out on him because of Shangguan Feier. He listened to Lin Feng's words. How is father? Shangguan Feier looked coldly at Shangguan Mo. Ha! He was ambushed by Shangguan Qian and is now a living corpse. He's not far from death. Shangguan Mo shouted crazily. Patricide! The faces of the Shangguan clan's upper echelons changed. This was simply disgraceful. That's our father. How could you work with Shangguan Qian to harm our father? Elders, please take care of third grandpa. I'm going to see my father. Shangguan Fei hurriedly ran towards the back courtyard. Lin Feng followed closely behind. Some elders stayed behind to look after Shangguan Run, while others followed along. Who are you? How dare you trespass into the backyard? The guards shouted coldly. Crackle! Bolts of lightning blasted over, and the dozen or so guards were immediately sent flying. They fell to the ground, unable to get up. Everyone quickly entered the courtyard and pushed open the door. Father! Seeing Shangguan Zhengxiong lying on the bed with his eyes closed, his face pale, Shangguan Fei couldn't help but cry. Perhaps the relationship between father and daughter was not deep and even a little thin. However, blood ties were something that could never be severed. Let me take a look. Lin Feng said. Alchemists dealt with medicine every day, so naturally they knew some medical skills. Lin Feng examined him and said his internal organs and even the blood vessels leading to his brain are blocked by blood clots. Furthermore, there seems to be some terrifying poison in his body. If it wasn't for his high cultivation level, he would have died long ago. Furthermore, he was hit by Shangguan Qian, so he became a zombie. Can he be saved? One of the elders asked. Don't disturb me. Lin Feng straightened Shangguan Zhengxiong's body and made him sit on the bed. Then Lin Feng stretched out his right hand. Swoosh! A ball of flame appeared on Lin Feng's palm. Alchemist, the elders of the Shangguan clan narrowed their eyes. They had never thought that this young man in front of them would not only have a high cultivation level, but also be a noble alchemist. Everyone was trying to guess Lin Feng's identity. Fei seemed to have a close relationship with this young man. The old foxes all thought to themselves. At this time, Lin Feng was continuously patting Shangguan Zhengxiong's body. Using this method, he allowed the heat of the heavenly flame to enter Shangguan Zhengxiong's body, dissolving the blood clots in his body. After a few dozen pats, Shangguan Zhengxiong spat out 3 mouthfuls of black blood, and he opened his eyes. This is... Shangguan Zhengxiong looked in front of him curiously. Father, are you all right? Shangguan Fei asked worriedly. I'm fine. What's the situation in the clan? Shangguan Zhengxiong's weak voice rang out. Shangguan Qian and Shangguan Mo rebelled. Thanks to this friend of Fei's, the rebellion has been quelled. One of the elders said. Shangguan Zhengxiong looked at Lin Feng and said, How should I address you, my young friend? This junior is Lin Feng. Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Senior, your injuries have just healed, and you should rest more. Later, I will give you a prescription to help you expel the poison and recuperate. I believe that in half a year, you will be fully recovered." "I can still recover?" Shangguan Zhengxiong's eyes lit up. "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. "Phew." Shangguan Zhengxiong let out a long breath and said, "Thank you, my young friend." "Senior, you're too polite." Lin Feng smiled and said, "You father and daughter should have something to talk about. I'll take my leave first." "Second elder, please entertain our young friend," Shangguan Zhengxiong said. "Yes, Patriarch." The second elder walked out and invited Lin Feng to the living room. After 15 minutes, Shangguan Fei walked in. When the second elder saw Shangguan Fei, he stood up and left. "If it wasn't for you, I really don't know what to do today," Shangguan Fei said softly. "I won't let anyone bully you." Lin Feng caressed Shangguan Fei's beautiful face. "Yes, Fei believes you." Shangguan Fei nodded heavily. Lin Feng didn't ask Shangguan Fei how she would deal with the first elder's people or Shangguan Mo. These were the Shangguan clan's matters, and Lin Feng didn't want to interfere. What he had done, he had already done. "Go and greet my mother. She has always wanted to see you," Shangguan Fei said with a red face. "All right." Lin Feng smiled. Shangguan sure lived in a side courtyard. Originally, her place was sealed by the first elder's people. Shangguan sure had been very anxious, worried that something would happen to Shangguan Fei. Not long ago, the first elder's people were all taken down by the other elders. Only then did Shangguan sure know that the danger of the Shangguan clan was resolved. Lin Feng followed Shangguan Fei to visit Shangguan Shi. Shangguan Shi looked to be in her 30s. Although she wasn't dressed extravagantly, she was dignified and elegant. "Junior Lin Feng greets Auntie." Lin Feng bowed to Shangguan Shi. Shangguan Shi had long heard about Lin Feng from Shangguan Fei, seeing how young and handsome Lin Feng was, and hearing that Lin Feng had killed Shangguan Qian today, calmed the Shangguan clan's turmoil, and even cured her husband. Shangguan Shi liked him more and more. "Quick, don't be so polite," Shangguan Shi said. "Lin Feng, let's go in and have a seat. Mother's mung bean cake is very delicious. You should try it too," Shangguan Fei said with a red face. "Then I'm in for a treat today." Lin Feng bowed slightly and entered the house with Shangguan Shi and Shangguan Fei. The Shangguan clan's matter was settled. Later on, Lin Feng found out that Shangguan Zhengxiong had imprisoned Shangguan Mo for life. As his father, he must be heartbroken, right? As for Shangguan Zhengxiong, he needed to recuperate. Thus he relinquished his position as the patriarch, handing it over to Shangguan Fei. With the help of Shangguan Run and the others, Shangguan Fei began to wield the authority of the patriarch. At the same time, the Azure Dragon Institute's Mountain River List ranking competition, after more than a month of intense battles, finally came to an end. Lin Feng fought with Xuelong and defeated him, but no one dared to challenge Lin Feng. Lin Feng replaced Xuelong and became the Mountain River List's first place. There were also many people in the Dragon Gate, such as Wang Kuan, Xiao Yifei, Xian Yuan Zhan, Wu Ming, Long Xiyu, and others who performed outstandingly, also occupying a place in the Mountain River List. A month after the Mountain River List ranking competition, the Fire Qilin and Lin Feng were preparing to leave the Azure Dragon Institute. The ancient god and devil battlefield was about to open, and Lin Feng wanted to go there to find the third martial talisman. Chapter 349. The third talisman was extremely important to Lin Feng. As long as he could find the third talisman in the ancient battlefield of gods and devils, Lin Feng's martial spirit would undergo a second evolution. At that time, a new devouring martial spirit would awaken. Every time a new devouring martial spirit was awakened, Lin Feng's cultivation would soar. Lin Feng and the Fire Qilin left the Azure Dragon Institute together. Lin Feng didn't ride the lion vulture to the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, because there was still some time before the opening of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. The Fire Qilin and Lin Feng discussed their plans and decided to travel through the desolate forest to train while heading to the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Lin Feng leaped through the forest at lightning speed. As he continued to cultivate the golden wings, Lin Feng's speed became faster and faster. However, no matter how fast Lin Feng's speed was, the Fire Qilin could always catch up to Lin Feng. I really wonder if you've recovered your god force. Can your mortal body keep up with my speed? After running for 4 hours, Lin Feng stopped, panting heavily as he looked at the Fire Qilin. The Fire Qilin curled its lips, saying, "That year, in order to temper my body, I went to the deepest part of the Eastern Sea, where the ancient gods had fallen, carrying a primordial divine mountain to temper my body. Do you know how heavy a 10,000-meter-tall primordial divine mountain is?" Lin Feng shook his head. The Fire Qilin said, "A fist-sized primordial divine mountain is heavier than a 10,000-meter-tall mountain." So heavy? Lin Feng was astounded. Of course. Moreover, any primordial divine mountain is more than 100,000 meters tall. You can imagine the weight of a primordial divine mountain. Even a yin-yang realm cultivator would be crushed into meat paste in an instant. The Fire Qilin explained, "No wonder I couldn't cut your body, so it was tempered like this." Lin Feng clicked his tongue in wonder. Whenever Lin Feng and the Fire Qilin had a verbal conflict, it was inevitable that they would exchange blows, but no matter what method Lin Feng used, he couldn't injure the Fire Qilin in the slightest. From this, it was clear how strong the Fire Qilin's body was. Lin Feng then thought of the sacred royal stone that the Fire Qilin snatched from numerous experts. The Fire Qilin was so strong, yet the royal stone almost tortured him to death. Huang Xiaolong knew what secrets it hid. Of course, there was the demonic bead. The demonic bead was even more terrifying. It had directly plundered the Fire Qilin's divine power, causing it to fall from its divine altar. Without its divine power, it was at the mercy of others. The Fire Qilins, Lu said, the Tao, the Long. The Qilin, the Eastern Divine Land, is the Eastern true. Even the Eastern Divine Land is the Eastern Province, is there. Even the Eastern Divine, of the Eastern Divine gods. The Eastern is also, the Divine is the Divine of the Divine, is even divine. Divine is divine, is he. It needed, was needed, n. Was. No one could become a fatty in one bite. Would. Lin Feng continued to cultivate in the forest. Lin Feng fought with the beast kings in the depths of the forest. He fought with the giant python in the depths of the lake. We'll reach the ancient battlefield of gods and demons in about half a month. That place is full of danger. The Fire Qilin narrowed its eyes. Lin Feng nodded. When the time comes, many big factions will come, right? Of course. The ancient battlefield of gods and demons opens once every 100 years. In the depths of the ancient battlefield of gods and devils, it's said that an existence surpassing the god spirit realm died. 100 years ago, many ancient powers wanted to bring that terrifying existence's corpse out, but they were attacked by an unknown force and suffered disastrous losses. In the end, they failed. 100 years have passed. I'm sure those ancient powers won't give up easily. They'll definitely want to bring that corpse out. The Fire Qilin said. Lin Feng was shocked. An existence that surpassed the divine level. What kind of powerhouse was that? The Fire Qilin said. Many ancient factions want to study the corpse. Perhaps they can find a way to surpass the divine level. Lin Feng was stunned. He had thought that the divine level was the peak of power in the world, but after talking with the Fire Qilin, he realized that there were existences that surpassed the divine level. The Fire Qilin said, "You don't need to pay attention to these things. What you need to do now is to quickly increase your cultivation and break through to the yin-yang realm. Become a true cultivator. Once your lifespan reaches 1,000 years, you'll have the power to live forever. Only then can you truly continue on the path of cultivation. If you're unable to break through to the yin-yang realm, the older you get, the more difficult it will be to break through. In the end, you might be stuck at the Martial King realm. You should know that the Martial King realm only has a lifespan of 200 years. If you cultivate to the yin-yang realm, you'll have a lifespan of more than 1,000 years." Lin Feng nodded solemnly. "I'll work hard. Continue cultivating. Lift that 10,000-meter-tall mountain." The Fire Qilin pointed at a mountain peak in the distance. Rumble! Not long after, a mountain appeared in the forest. The mountain sprinted all the way, scaring away countless ferocious beasts and adventurers who had ventured deep into the forest. The Fire Qilin had taught Lin Feng this method of cultivation. Even though it was inhumane torture, it was very effective. Lin Feng could feel his pure qi becoming more and more condensed. It felt like he could break through at any moment. One day, Lin Feng rested in a mountain valley. The next morning, he left with the Fire Qilin. At the moment when Lin Feng came out of the valley, he saw 12 swords flying towards him from all directions. Lin Feng couldn't escape from those 12 swords. He was completely surrounded. The 12 flying swords were as fast as lightning as they shot towards Lin Feng. An ambush! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. These flying swords were all bejeweled flying swords. Flying swords of that level could already injure his body. Sending 12 bejeweled flying swords to kill him at once was not something an ordinary faction could do. Asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh. Asterisk the bejeweled flying swords flickered with an incomparably cold light. They transformed into terrifying killing intent as they shot towards Lin Feng. Swish! Lin Feng's reaction was extremely fast. When the 12 bejeweled flying swords slashed towards him, Lin Feng's hand flashed, and the black dragon sword appeared in his hand. Lin Feng swung the black dragon sword. Asterisk clang, clang, clang. Asterisk a series of clanging sounds rang out as the 12 bejeweled flying swords were all sent flying by Lin Feng. Chapter 350. Good kid, your reaction is actually so fast. A cold shout was heard. Asterisk swoosh, 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 swoosh. Asterisk following that, 12 black-clothed cultivators rushed out of the forest. These people all emitted a gloomy aura. Their faces were covered, only revealing their eyes. The one who spoke was a skinny man. He should be the leader of this group. Soul Devourer Palace. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. This aura was too familiar. It was the blood-robed beast tamer, the black-robed poison master, and the others all had this gloomy and terrifying aura. It should be because they cultivated the same cultivation technique. The leading cultivator sneered and said, "You're pretty smart to be able to guess our identities. However, no matter how smart you are, you won't be able to escape today. This place will be your burial ground." That's not necessarily true. The 12 of you won't be able to kill me, Lin Feng said indifferently. The leading cultivator sneered and said, "You're about to die, yet you're still boasting shamelessly." Lin Feng shrugged and said, "Then let's try it." Asterisk swoosh asterisk. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng took the lead and rushed out. The conflict between him and Soul Devourer Palace was a situation where only one of them would die. Lin Feng didn't need to ask how these people had targeted him, because he knew that Soul Devourer Palace would definitely think of a way to kill him. Kill! The leading cultivator of Soul Devourer Palace coldly shouted. Asterisk, buzz, buzz, buzz. Asterisk, these people all took out their precious artifact flying swords. These flying swords emitted terrifying fluctuations. The power of these flying swords was extremely shocking. They were truly supreme treasures that could cut through iron like mud. Moreover, they were extremely fast. 12 flying swords were once again taken out by the 12 experts of Soul Devourer Palace. These flying swords were controlled by the experts of Soul Devourer Palace. They flew in different directions and attacked Lin Feng. Moreover, there was a time difference this time. After the first flying sword attacked, the second flying sword would continue to attack Lin Feng. The 12 flying swords all had a certain time difference. In this way, 12 flying swords were formed, and they came at different times to attack. Lin Feng wanted to send all the flying swords flying, but it became very unrealistic. This was because as soon as he slashed out with his sword, the flying swords that were sent out to slash at him had already attacked. At this time, it would be very difficult to block the next wave of attacks with his sword. Taking a step back, even if Lin Feng could withstand the second wave of flying swords, he would still be able to withstand the second wave of flying swords. However, the 12 flying swords were coming at him continuously. How many waves could Lin Feng withstand? As long as one of the flying swords landed on Lin Feng's body, Lin Feng's head would be separated from his body, and he would die on the spot. Evidently, the coordination between the 12 of them could be said to be flawless. They had accurately executed their attacks to the millimeter. The eyes of the 12 Soul Devourer Temple experts were filled with killing intent. In their opinion, Lin Feng was dead for sure. There was no way he could avoid their attacks. Humph! Facing the attacks of the 12 Soul Devourer Palace experts, Lin Feng sneered. He waved his left hand, and a black light soared into the sky. Amidst the black light, a broken jar flew out. Kid, you can't be thinking of using this broken jar to deal with our 12 precious flying swords, right? Ha! This kid must have been scared silly, right? The 12 Soul Devourer Temple experts burst into laughter, mocking and ridiculing Yi Futian. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He did not say anything. He activated the Heaven Devourer jar. Buzz. A twisting black vortex formed within the Heaven Devourer jar. After the magic treasure was activated, a terrifying devouring power gushed out from the sky-swallowing jar. Although the Heaven Devourer jar was damaged, its power was still terrifying. It could devour everything. Especially, the Heaven Devourer jar could forcibly steal other people's artifacts. This ability was simply heaven-defying. When the terrifying devouring power released by the Heaven Devourer jar enveloped the 12 precious flying swords, the 12 precious flying swords that were originally attacking Lin Feng all changed directions and flew toward the Heaven Devourer jar. When the 12 Soul Devourer Temple experts saw this, their expressions changed drastically. Not good. That broken jar is trying to devour our precious flying swords. Quick, summon the artifact spirits. We can't let that kid devour our precious flying swords. Boom, boom. The 12 Soul Devourer Temple experts made their moves at the same time. Streams of powerful true energy poured into the precious flying swords. God of the deep sea, God of the deep sea. Immediately after, deep voices rang out from the 12 precious flying swords, one after another. Within the precious flying swords, light soared into the sky. Amidst the dazzling brilliance, 12 colossal existences emerged. They were gigantic creatures shrouded in a layer of mist. They looked like giant fish, but their heads resembled the heads of lions. It was very strange. Huh, these precious weapons are all made of deep-sea blackstone, right? Even their artifact spirits are the same. The fire Qilin, who was watching the battle from afar, muttered softly. Deep-sea blackstone was a type of stone found at a depth of 30,000 meters. It contained a powerful spiritual nature and could be used to forge precious weapons. The artifact spirits of the 12 precious flying swords are the same? Are they all forged in batches? Lin Feng was speechless. No wonder he felt that the precious flying swords were only low-grade precious weapons. Forging precious weapons in batches, no matter how good the materials were. In the end, the power of the precious weapons would be reduced by several grades. Deep-sea blackstone was an ore. If it was carefully crafted, the treasured flying sword he forged should be a high-grade treasured weapon. After the artifact spirits appeared, the 12 precious flying swords' power increased greatly. They wanted to break free from the sky-devouring jar. Lin Feng sneered. How laughable! Do you think you can break free from the sky-devouring jar? Sky-devouring jar, devour. Lin Feng suddenly slapped the sky-devouring jar. Powerful energy. It poured into the sky-devouring jar. The sky-devouring jar's aura became more and more terrifying. With the devouring martial spirit, Lin Feng could maximize the sky-devouring jar's power. When the devouring martial spirit's power was poured into the sky-devouring jar by Lin Feng, the sky-devouring jar's power increased rapidly. God of the deep sea, God of the deep sea, the artifact spirits of the 12 precious flying swords roared loudly, trying to break free from the sky-devouring jar. But it was useless. The 12 precious flying swords quickly flew towards the sky-devouring jar, shrinking in the air. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. When they reached the sky-devouring jar, they shrank to half an inch and were immediately swallowed by the sky-devouring jar. After the sky-devouring jar swallowed the 12 precious flying swords, it forcefully cut off the connection between the 12 soul devourer temple experts and the 12 precious flying swords. Wah! The 12 soul devourer temple experts suffered a backlash, and all of them spat out a mouthful of blood. Little bastard, how dare you steal our precious weapons? We'll tear you to pieces. The 12 strong cultivators of the soul-devouring temple were looking at Lin Feng. They were filled with hatred and hatred. Their facial expressions were distorted. Chapter 351. Treasured flying swords were extremely precious. To be able to obtain a life treasure, just how difficult was that? Many people viewed their magical treasures as more important than their own lives. But now, Lin Feng had forcefully stolen the treasured flying swords of the 12 Soul Devourer Palace experts. This was simply driving the 12 Soul Devourer Palace experts crazy. Ha! Lin Feng laughed loudly and said, "It seems like you won't be able to kill me today. Perhaps you'll be killed by me." The experts' eyes suddenly flashed with a dense killing intent. The leading cultivator said coldly, "Brat, it's too early for you to be happy. So what if you stole our treasured flying swords? You're alone, and the 12 of us are attacking you together. Do you think you can withstand our attacks? After killing you, the treasured flying swords will return to our hands, and the treasures on your body will also belong to us." When the others heard this, their eyes suddenly lit up. Right, they had the advantage in numbers. How could this brat fight against 12 of them? Thinking of this, the killing intent in their hearts became even stronger. "Then let's see if you kill me, or if I kill you." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Martial spirit, sacrifice. The leading cultivator of the Soul Devourer Palace was very straightforward. He directly used his strongest attack, urging his martial spirit to attack Lin Feng. Bind! Bind! First, the two black-clothed men urged their martial spirits. These two people's martial spirits were not attack-type martial spirits, but auxiliary-type martial spirits. The first person's martial spirit was a dense cluster of vines. These vines covered the sky and rushed towards Lin Feng, wanting to bind Lin Feng. The second person's martial spirit was a strange rope. This was the first time Lin Feng had seen such a martial spirit. This rope was called the Immortal Binding Rope. Although it did not have a strong attack power, it had a special characteristic, which was to bind. Once the rope was bound, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to break free. The two auxiliary-type martial souls were used together to bind Lin Feng and prevent him from moving. At that time, he could only passively take a beating. Roar, roar, roar. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately after, the rest of the people also activated their martial spirits. Bestial roars shook the heavens and the earth. It was a beast spirit. A cold light flickered. This was a tool martial spirit. All kinds of martial spirits rushed toward Lin Feng. The power of 12 martial spirits exploding at the same time was too terrifying. It was enough to destroy everything. That kind of power was shocking. You want to use your martial soul against me? Said Lin Feng, while smiling coldly. He flicked his finger, and a purple flame emerged from his hand. In a flash, the purple flame ignited the vine spirit, which was moving towards him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The vine martial spirit started to burn fiercely. Damn it, my spirit has been ignited. The cultivator who summoned the vine martial spirit had a drastic change in expression. He could not help but roar angrily and quickly think of a way to extinguish the fire. Boom! At the same time, Lin Feng activated his devouring martial spirit. The immortal binding rope martial spirit was directly devoured by Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit. My martial spirit has been devoured. The black-clothed cultivator of the second life said with an extremely ugly expression, "It doesn't matter, we still have our martial spirits." The leader of the Soul Devourer Palace shouted loudly. He activated his beast spirit, the wild lion martial spirit, and rushed toward Lin Feng to kill him. The other 9 people also activated their martial spirits in a frenzy. 10 martial spirits appeared in the blink of an eye. The 10 martial spirits released their power at the same time. The chi and fluctuations produced by the 10 martial spirits made Lin Feng's heart palpitate. However, Lin Feng did not show any fear. Everything was under his control. Today, I will let you die convinced. Lin Feng's deep voice resounded. Boom! In the next moment, a terrifying chi was released from Lin Feng's body. Force. Lin Feng was condensing his force. When Lin Feng condensed his force, it was easy for him to unleash 100% of his combat strength. This was the terrifying aspect of momentum. Many times when cultivators fought, it was difficult for them to unleash 100% of their combat strength due to various reasons. Sometimes they could only unleash 30% or 40% of their strength. For example, if they were seriously injured, being able to unleash 30% of their combat strength was already quite good. However, if they could condense their own force, no matter what the situation was, they could increase their combat strength to 100%. Immemorial dragon-esque elephant. Suppress the heavens. Bow down to the heavenly emperor. Bow down to the gods. Lin Feng's deep voice resounded. In the void, a gigantic object appeared. It was an immemorial dragon-esque elephant that could suppress the world. Its head was the sky, and its feet were on the ground. With a roar, the mountains shook. Bang, bang, bang. The immemorial dragon-esque elephant roared and destroyed the martial spirits condensed by the Soul Devourer Palace's experts one after another. This is impossible. The Soul Devourer Palace's experts looked at the scene in disbelief. One move. He had destroyed 10 of their martial spirits. This was too heaven-defying. How could this be something an 18-year-old boy could do? Whoosh! At this moment, Lin Feng had already made his move. He was too fast and instantly rushed in front of a Soul Devourer Palace's expert. The black dragon sword in his hand swiped across the void. Puffed. The Soul Devourer Palace's expert's neck was torn apart. Fresh blood immediately gushed out. The Soul Devourer Palace's expert died on the spot. This kid is cruel. Let's leave quickly. The leading Soul Devourer Palace cultivator shouted loudly. At this moment, he no longer had the heart to fight. He took the lead and rushed into the distance. The rest of the people did the same. They were almost scared out of their wits by Lin Feng. How could they still have the courage to fight? They turned and ran. There's no escape. You devils! You kill people like flies. Today, I'll kill you on behalf of the heavens. Lin Feng roared and chased after them. The people of the Soul Devourer Palace had wreaked havoc in the East County's divine land back then, causing the deaths of billions of ordinary people. This led to a mass attack. Now, the remaining forces of the Soul Devourer Palace were showing signs of revival. For example, they had manipulated the war between the Orc Empire and the true Martial Kingdom, causing heavy casualties in both countries. The Soul Devourer Palace belonged to the Devil Path, although the Devil Path was also divided into good and evil. However, it was clear that the Soul Devourer Palace belonged to the Devil Path. They were devils. Lin Feng killed the Soul Devourer Palace's cultivators without any hesitation. Uffed! He quickly chased after them. The black dragon sword pierced the chest of a Soul Devourer Palace cultivator from behind. Whoosh! Lin Feng pulled out the black dragon sword and chased after the second person. His speed was too fast. These Soul Devourer Palace cultivators were too slow compared to Lin Feng. Buffed, buffed. The sound of bodies being pierced was heard. One by one, the Soul Devourer Palace cultivators were killed. Soon, only the leader of the Soul Devourer Palace was left. I'll fight you to the death. The leader roared. He suddenly pulled up a 1,000-meter-tall mountain and threw it at Lin Feng. Pooh! However, in the next moment, Lin Feng's black dragon sword was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. It instantly split the mountain and pierced the Soul Devourer Palace cultivator's chest. I can't believe I'm going to die here. The man murmured in disbelief before he died. In the next moment, he fell to the ground and died. The 12 Soul Devourer Palace cultivators had all died. Chapter 352. Deep in the forest, Lin Feng sat on top of a tree and counted the spoils of war he had obtained from the Soul Devourer Palace's experts. 12 treasured flying swords, 12 spirit artifact robes, 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones, 30 bottles of various pills. In addition, there were some gold, silver, secret techniques, and so on. The truly valuable items were the treasured flying swords and spirit artifact robes. Lin Feng had also collected many treasured artifacts and spirit artifacts during this period of time. These treasures were extremely precious. If he took them out to sell, he would definitely be able to sell them for an astonishing price and make a fortune. However, Lin Feng had no intention of selling them. He planned to wait until he returned to his family and leave them there to increase the Lin family's strength. It seems like you've become the Soul Devourer Palace's target. The Fire Qilin said with a faint smile, if the Soul Devourer Palace sends out Yin-Yang Realm cultivators, it will be a big problem. Lin Feng said, then I'll have to cultivate faster and raise my cultivation level so that even Yin-Yang Realm cultivators won't be able to return. Haha, domineering. You should have this kind of confidence and domineering attitude. Only then can you soar into the sky. The fire Qilin nodded in satisfaction. After putting away everything, Lin Feng and the fire Qilin continued to rush into the depths of the forest. There were many ferocious birds and beasts in the depths of the forest. Lin Feng trained as he walked deeper into the forest. Late at night, Lin Feng sat cross-legged. A vortex condensed above him. The essence of the sun and moon, the power of the stars, and the spirit energy of heaven and earth all gathered towards Lin Feng. After a series of battles, Lin Feng was already on the verge of a breakthrough. Today, when he was regulating his breathing, he entered a mysterious state. Lin Feng had the feeling that he was fusing with the earth and the sky. He was becoming a speck of dust, a grain of sand, a blade of grass, a tree. This was a mysterious feeling that was compatible with heaven and earth. Only when one's heart was pure and flawless could one merge with heaven and earth. This meant that people with pure hearts could often reach a magical state of merging with heaven and earth, just like Lin Feng now. That little brat can still maintain a pure heart after killing so many people. How rare. It seems like he's about to break through. It's a bit earlier than I expected. The fire Qilin, who was originally lying on top of a rock, felt the change in Lin Feng. It raised its head and muttered to itself. Roar. An earth-shattering roar suddenly resounded. Suddenly, the entire mountain forest became dead silent. It was so quiet that it was strange. Soon, a huge tiger that was more than 10 meters long and 7 to 8 meters tall leaped out. It was a demonic tiger with an abnormally terrifying aura. Clearly, it was the overlord of the forest. When the demonic tiger saw Lin Feng, who was sitting cross-legged, a ferocious light flashed in its eyes. With a low growl, it pounced towards Lin Feng. Scram! The fire Qilin leaped out and stared coldly at the demon tiger. The fire Qilin's body exuded a terrifying aura. This was the supreme divine power of a divine beast. Roar. The demon tiger let out a frightened cry and turned to flee into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. The fire Qilin let out a long sigh and muttered, "Damn it, I'm guilty because I don't have divine power. Back then, I could have killed this little tiger with a sneeze. Now that I see it, I feel cold all over. I don't know if that thing really exists in the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. If it does, I must find it. Maybe I can use that thing to reactivate my withered divine body and let my body slowly produce divine power. Without that thing, I don't know how long it will take to recover my divine power." The fire Qilin sighed and lay on a smooth rock, closing its eyes to rest. When dawn arrived, a shocking fluctuation woke the fire Qilin up. The fire Qilin opened its eyes and saw an endless amount of moonlight, celestial power, heaven and earth vitality, and even the essence of the plants rushing towards Lin Feng's body. Boom! In the next moment, Lin Feng's body emitted a terrifying fluctuation. Breakthrough. The fire Qilin's eyes lit up. Lin Feng jumped up and felt the power in his body. He was ecstatic. He had finally broken through to the 4th layer of the martial general realm. This month of bitter cultivation, hundreds of life and death battles. I've finally reaped the rewards. Lin Feng took a deep breath. After a short moment of surprise, he quickly regained his calm. He was only a martial general, and although he had broken through, there was still a large gap between him and the geniuses nurtured by the top forces. Thus, Lin Feng understood that he still had a long way to go. Now was not the time to be arrogant and complacent. The fire Qilin was very satisfied with Lin Feng's ability to control his emotions. It said, "We'll have to speed up. There's no need to continue training. We'll head straight to the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Lin Feng nodded, his back trembling slightly. Whoosh! A pair of golden energy wings materialized out of thin air. The fire Qilin jumped onto Lin Feng's shoulder. The golden wings shook slightly, and Lin Feng rushed into the air, quickly flying in the direction of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. When they were about 3 or 4 days away from the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, the number of cultivators on the road began to increase. Many people were probably rushing to the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. In a mountain forest, a man and a woman were hunting under the protection of a dozen guards. The woman was very seductive, like a vixen. Her entire body emitted a coquettish aura. "Sir, the bow and arrow are so heavy. Hurry up and help me carry it," the seductive woman said sweetly. The young man said, "I don't think it's the bow and arrow that's heavy. It's you who wants to be F***ed. Sir, you're so annoying." The seductive woman snorted. The young man laughed heartily and walked over. He stood behind the seductive woman and grabbed her hands. "What do you want to shoot?" the young man asked. "I want to shoot." The seductive woman looked around. Suddenly, she saw a cultivator flying over from afar. "Ah, sir, look, someone's flying over." The seductive woman pointed at Lin Feng, who was flying over the mountain forest. She smiled sweetly and said, "I want to shoot him. What do you think?" "Ha! Of course there's no problem. Come, I'll teach you how to shoot." The enchanting woman grabbed the bow and arrow, while the young man grabbed the enchanting woman's hands. Their heads were pressed together, and then they slowly pulled the bow and arrow. This bow and arrow was not an ordinary bow and arrow, but a magic bow, a magical arrow. Once this arrow was released, it would be very easy to kill someone. However, these two people were shooting at cultivators just for fun. Whoosh! The magical arrow turned into a ray of light, moving as fast as lightning. It instantly shot towards Lin Feng, who was flying above the mountain forest. The arrow went straight for Lin Feng's chest. Chapter 353. Lin Feng frowned. He looked at the arrow, which was flying towards him, and his facial expression looked glum. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand. Crack! Lin Feng caught the arrow in his hand. He looked down at the forest and saw a group of people in the forest. Whoosh! Lin Feng quickly descended. "I don't think we know each other. There is no enmity between us. So why shoot me with an arrow? Don't tell me that it was an accident. Even a child wouldn't believe that." Lin Feng said with a gloomy expression. The young man glared coldly at Lin Feng and said, "That's right. I was the one who shot it. I was hunting when you flew over and got shot. You were unlucky. Since you survived, you should have left obediently instead of questioning me." Lin Feng suddenly felt a surge of anger. If one wasn't careful, they could be shot to death. Not only did this person not have the slightest bit of regret, he was actually so arrogant. Lin Feng said coldly, "You shot an arrow at me for no reason. If I hadn't reacted quickly enough, I might have been killed by that arrow of yours. And you won't even allow me to question you?" The young man said disdainfully, "Brat, so what if this young master shoots an arrow at you? This young master is happy. Who do you think you are? How dare you question me? Get lost before I get angry. Otherwise, I'll make you regret ever being born." Lin Feng had seen arrogant people before, but this was the first time he had seen someone so arrogant. Lin Feng felt like his chest was about to explode. Fury. It burned fiercely. Lin Feng's character was that if you respected him, he would respect you tenfold. "If you dare to step on my foot, I'll make you wish you were dead." "Good, good, good." Lin Feng smiled angrily and looked at the young man icily. "Kneel down." Kneel down and kowtow to me. Apologize to me. Then you can slap your own face until I'm satisfied. If you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, I'll let you know how to write the word regret. Young master, I'm so scared. The enchanting woman patted her plump chest with a surprised look on her face. Darling, he's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Don't be afraid. As the young master comforted the enchanting woman, one of his hands reached into her clothes and grabbed her plump breasts, rubbing them vigorously as if there was no one else present. The enchanting woman immediately let out a series of moans. This young master had an evil aura about him. He waved his hand and ordered, "Capture this brat, but don't kill him right away. I'll let him know how I torture people." "Yes, sir." Immediately, a guard leaped out. That guard was a cultivator of the first celestial layer. He looked at Lin Feng with a ferocious smile and said coldly, "Little brat, you even dare to offend our prince. I think you don't want to live anymore." As soon as he finished speaking, he threw a punch at Lin Feng. Facing the powerful punch of the guard, Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and grabbed the incoming punch. Crack! The guard's fist was caught in Lin Feng's hand. The ferocious-looking guard struggled with all his might, but he was shocked to find that his fist was clamped like a vice. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. Lin Feng used a bit of strength. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Ah! That was followed by a miserable shriek. The wrist of the ferocious-looking guard was broken by Lin Feng. Bang! Lin Feng raised his right foot and kicked out. The cultivator was sent flying 30 to 40 meters away by Lin Feng's kick. He fell to the ground, and his body was arched, twitching violently. "Young master, he's so strong. I'm so scared." The enchanting woman was panting from the young master's rubbing as she spoke pitifully. This stimulated the young master's lust even more. If it wasn't for the fact that he was still in conflict with Lin Feng, the young master would have already taken action. With the young master's personality, he would have already taken off the enchanting woman's undergarments and forced himself on her in the wilderness. In any case, he had done this more than once. "Darling, don't be afraid. This brat won't be able to jump around for long." The young master's lips curled into a devilish smile as he said coldly, "Are you all trash? There are so many of you, yet you can't even deal with a single person? Don't worry, young master. We'll take care of this brat soon." The rest of the people agreed. These people knew that if they angered their young master, it would be a terrible thing. They couldn't help but hate Lin Feng. If it wasn't for him, would they have been reprimanded by the young master? Immediately, their eyes flickered with a sinister light as they all charged at Lin Feng. This young master's identity was definitely not ordinary, because one could roughly guess this person's background from the guards by his side. These guards all had the strength of a martial general. Going out with more than 10 martial generals protecting him was not something an ordinary faction could do. But so what? If you provoke me, I don't care if you're the king of heaven, I'll still torture you. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he leaped forward and charged at these people. Now that Lin Feng's cultivation had broken through, his strength had greatly increased. In addition, he had cultivated many powerful ancient divine abilities and secret techniques. Ordinary martial generals were simply not a match for Lin Feng. Only martial generals at the 8th or 9th heavenly layer would be able to firmly suppress Lin Feng. "Brat, are you courting death?" When they saw that Lin Feng actually dared to take the initiative to charge at them, a sinister smile appeared on the faces of the guards. As far as they were concerned, Lin Feng was simply courting death. So what if a young man is also a martial general? Could it be that he could fight against more than 10 of them by himself? Asterisk bang bang bang. Asterisk both sides fiercely collided with each other, following a series of muffled sounds. One guard after another was sent flying by Lin Feng. Kacha kacha! The sound of bones cracking could be heard. These martial general guards were simply not a match for Lin Feng. Their arms were all broken by Lin Feng's punch. Their bodies flew back and fell to the ground, holding their broken arms as they mournfully and painfully screamed. How is this possible? When the young master saw this scene, his expression suddenly changed. These were more than 10 martial general cultivators, but they were all heavily injured by a single move. The young master suddenly panicked. Young master, don't worry, we'll deal with him. Asterisk swish, swish. Asterisk the two cultivators beside the young master spoke at the same time. When he saw these two people, the young master calmed down. He said with a sinister smile, "Don't kill him directly. We know what to do." The two guards replied. Asterisk whoosh whoosh. Asterisk the two guards walked towards Lin Feng, one on the left and one on the right. The aura emitted from their bodies caused Lin Feng's expression to change slightly. 7th Heavenly Layer Martial General. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Chapter 354. Brat, you have some eyesight. If you know that you are afraid, then surrender without a fight. Maybe you can suffer less later. If you are stubborn, then only death awaits you. The skinny cultivator on the left said with a sneer. Lin Feng's body began to tremble slightly. The cultivator on the right with a sinister gaze said, "We haven't even made a move yet, and you're already so scared. Brat, if you want to live, then quickly kneel down and kowtow to our young master." The corner of Lin Feng's mouth hooked up into a cold arc. How was he afraid? It was excitement. A cultivator at the 7th layer of the martial general realm should have around 15,000 dragon power. And Lin Feng's current strongest strength was 3,750 dragon power. Although there was a gap between him and a cultivator at the 7th layer of the martial general realm, it was not an irreparable gap. Through a secret technique, during a battle, one could make up for the gap between the two sides. And the 7th layer of the martial general realm happened to be the realm that Lin Feng wanted to fight the most. He wanted to use these two people to test his newly increased strength. Ha ha! Attack me. Let me see how strong the 7th layer of the martial general realm is. Lin Feng laughed out loud. Brat, you're courting death. When the two cultivators heard this, their faces immediately became extremely gloomy. This brat actually dared to look down on them so much. How could they tolerate this? The two of them had indifferent expressions as they leaped out and rushed towards Lin Feng. Since you want to die, then we'll fulfill your wish. The two cultivators had sinister expressions on their faces, one on the left and one on the right. The person on the left used a great capture move. The person on the right used a wind cloud palm move. The two of them clearly had a tacit understanding of each other. One on the left and one on the right, they attacked continuously. The wind from their palms was like a sharp blade, and the wind from their palms instantly pierced through a large tree that could only be held by a dozen people. The claw light was like a saber light. The saber light that shot out instantly cut a 100-meter-tall boulder in half as if it was tofu. The power is not bad, but it's not enough. Lin Feng's expression was cold. Dense lightning energy was condensed in his hands. The power of lightning interweaved together and turned into a ball of lightning. Lin Feng held a lightning ball in his left hand and a lightning ball in his right hand. He hurled it at the two of them. This was the lightning ball condensed by Lin Feng using the Sky Tyrant lightning art. Its might was terrifying to the extreme. The ball of lightning instantly exploded, emitting a terrifying might that made one's heart tremble. Bang! Bang! Two explosions spread in the air. Lin Feng and the two cultivators of the seventh celestial layer collided. The power of the lightning ball, condensed by the Sky Tyrant lightning secret art, was really too powerful. The ball of lightning exploded. The two seventh layer martial general cultivators were sent flying. Wow! The two cultivators spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. Their faces were extremely pale. This attack had caused them serious injuries. How is this possible? The young master originally had a complacent and indifferent expression as he watched everything unfold in front of him. In his opinion, Lin Feng was bound to lose, but who would have thought that his two guards would be sent flying by Lin Feng? At this moment, the young master looked at Lin Feng with a trace of horror in his eyes. Is this your strength? Take out your strongest strength to fight against me. Lin Feng walked step by step towards the two seventh layer martial general cultivators. Around his body, dense lightning energy lingered. He was like a god born from lightning. Young master, run! The two guards shouted in a deep voice. After exchanging blows, the two of them more or less knew how terrifying Lin Feng's fighting strength was. At this moment, they only hoped to delay for a while. At this time, the young master also reacted. He didn't even care about the enchanting woman and turned to run. Young master, wait for me. The enchanting woman also ran away. Crackle! Lin Feng's surroundings were intertwined with the power of lightning. He stepped forward and took the initiative to attack the two of them. Attack! The two seventh layer martial master cultivators coldly shouted and once again charged towards Lin Feng. The thin cultivator's dantian shone with light as he activated his martial spirit. His martial spirit was a blood-red long saber. It traversed the void and slashed towards Lin Feng. The gloomy cultivator's martial spirit was actually a skull. It directly flew out and bit towards Lin Feng. Sky Tyrant lightning art. Break! Break! Lin Feng roared loudly. Boom! Boom! The power of lightning ruthlessly struck down, and the two cultivators' martial spirits were instantly shattered by the lightning. Then, the dense lightning struck the two cultivators' bodies and directly sent them flying. Puff! Puff! The two cultivators' flesh was torn apart by the explosion, and they fell to the ground, unable to get up. Lin Feng jumped out and quickly caught up with the young master, who was running away. You still want to run? Lin Feng looked at the young master indifferently. Ah! The enchanting woman was so frightened that her legs went soft, and she directly sat on the ground. What do you want? The young master asked in a trembling voice. Lin Feng sneered. Now you're asking me what I want. The young master threatened. Do you know who I am? Let me tell you, I'm... Slap. Before the young master could finish his sentence, Lin Feng slapped him. This slap directly sent the young master flying. His body crashed into a tree and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Seeing Lin Feng walking towards him, the young master ignored the pain and roared loudly, I'm from the ancient Leaf family. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. Let me tell you, our Leaf family has a universal mirror that can detect the universe. Nothing that happens today can be hidden from our family. Universal mirror? Ancient Leaf family? Lin Feng sneered inwardly. He walked forward and kicked the young master to the ground. Do you think I'm afraid? I'll slap my own face 10 times, and I'll let this matter rest. Otherwise, Lin Feng frowned. Said Lin Feng, while smiling coldly. The young man could sense that Lin Feng was releasing a bone-piercing cold chi. The anger in his heart was about to ignite his entire body. He was the successor of an ancient family. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? However, he was facing Lin Feng. He was powerless to fight back. Although he wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Feng into pieces, he could not do anything. He could only tell himself to endure it for now. I'll slap. The young master clenched his teeth and raised his hand in humiliation. Slap, slap, slap. He slapped himself 10 times in a row. Each slap was like 1,000 arrows piercing his heart. This kind of humiliation was driving him crazy. After slapping himself 10 times, the young master lowered his head. He did not look at Lin Feng, but his eyes were filled with malevolence. Before you humiliate others, you have to consider your own strength. If there's a next time, I'll kill you. Lin Feng looked at the young master indifferently, then left with the fire Qilin. Little bastard, Li Ling, will tear you into pieces. Otherwise, I'm not a human. After Lin Feng left, the young master roared. His whole face was distorted, and his eyes were filled with endless killing intent and hatred. Chapter 355. That guy's killing intent is very strong, said the fire Qilin. Lin Feng nodded and said, I know, but we still have to consider the power behind that guy. If he knows what's good for him, he'll know when to advance and when to retreat. If he doesn't, then even the power behind him won't be able to save him. When Lin Feng said that, his eyes were filled with killing intent. The fire Qilin nodded and didn't say anything else. 5 days later, Lin Feng finally arrived at the outer regions of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Many cultivators had already arrived and were scattered all over the place looking at the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. The ancient battlefield of gods and demons is surrounded by a huge restrictive spell. Only when the restrictive spell disappears can one enter. There's a terrifying black fog in the outer regions of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, and there are soul weapons coming and going to harvest cultivators' lives. Whispered the fire Qilin. Soul weapons? What's that? Lin Feng was shocked. The dead still have resentment, and they turn into soul weapons and wander around the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, said the fire Qilin. Boom! In the distance, a terrifying chi filled the air. A handsome man walked over and floated outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. That man's body was surrounded by a boundless divine light. He was dazzling and as hot as the sun. He was like a sun, and it was difficult for anyone to look at him directly. It's him. The fire Qilin's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly said, I need to leave this place. When you come out of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, go to a small town 50 miles away and wait for me there. The fire Qilin quickly left. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. What's going on? The fire Qilin saw that man who looked like a sun god and was scared away. Is that a strong cultivator from the Golden Crow clan? Someone asked, looking at the man in shock. That's right, it's the Golden Crow clan from Fusang Island, an ancient clan that lives on top of the Fusang god tree. It's said that they have the blood of the ancient divine emperor flowing in their veins. They're extremely powerful, and they're the descendants of the ancient divine emperor. They've been prosperous since the ancient era, and even now, they're still one of the most terrifying powers. Qinwu people's strong cultivators. Lin Feng was also very shocked. In myths and legends, Qinwu people could transform into the sun and illuminate the heavens. In the primordial era, there were even 10 golden crows that flew into the sky at the same time. The myriad worlds could not withstand this terrifying heat. Rivers and lakes dried up, and countless living beings died. Great shaman Ho-Yi had forged the sun-shooting divine Bao. Shoot the 9 suns. Of course, these were just myths and legends, and could not be taken seriously. Even so, one could imagine how terrifying the Golden Crow clan was. This clan was the descendant of the primeval Saint Emperor. They grasped some powerful bloodline secret techniques, and were invincible. The valiant man transformed from the golden crow seemed to have sensed something and looked in the direction of Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at the pair of eyes and felt as if his soul was about to fall into a boundless illusion. The valiant man frowned slightly and thought to himself, could I have sensed wrongly? Only then did he turn around and look towards the depths of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Huff, 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 Lin Feng panted violently. His back was drenched in sweat. That Kinwu people's man was too terrifying. He had almost lost himself just by looking at his eyes. The Fire Qilin must have left because of him. Could he be a great enemy of the Fire Qilin? Lin Feng thought to himself. He had heard the Fire Qilin say that it had a few great enemies with terrifying strength. Even when the Fire Qilin was at its peak, it would have been hard to say if it could defeat them, let alone now. If it encountered such a great enemy, the Fire Qilin would have to flee far away to avoid detection. If it was discovered, it would definitely die in its current state. Lin Feng took a deep breath and went to another mountain forest, far away from the Kinwu people. He was worried that the Kinwu people would notice something strange. Boundless Tao Master, Benefactor, I see that your face is glowing. It seems that luck has descended upon you. You want a divination? Perhaps you can obtain a heaven-defying opportunity in the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. A Taoist priest was promoting himself to a cultivator. Damn, isn't that the boundless Taoist priest? Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. He hadn't thought that he would run into this guy outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Lin Feng even suspected that the boundless Taoist priest was a fake priest. He pretended to be a Taoist priest and swindled others. Outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, many strong cultivators were arriving. Even people from the ancient sacred lands and the ancient dynasties had arrived. This naturally caused quite a commotion. Lin Feng saw a beautiful woman. She looked like a celestial being. She had an extraordinary qi. Hua Shiruo. It was actually her. She was the most beautiful woman in the eastern province. Her face was covered by a veil, so her face couldn't be seen. However, one could imagine that under the veil was a breathtakingly beautiful face. Next to Hua Shiruo was a group of bodyguards. They were all from powerful groups and wanted to win her heart. It's really lively. It seems that many geniuses from the ancient groups have also come. The ancient battlefield of gods and demons is really attractive. Lin Feng stroked his chin. One day later, the ancient battlefield of gods and demons emitted an astonishing qi. Beams of celestial light shot up into the sky. Is the ancient battlefield of gods and demons going to open? Many people cried out in surprise and nervously looked in the direction of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. It opened once every 100 years. Countless gods and demons had fallen there. There weren't only powerful secret techniques left behind by the gods and demons. There were even many fiend gods' supreme treasures, wealth, and so on that had been buried along with the fiend gods' deaths on the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. This was perhaps the reason why the ancient battlefield of gods and demons was so attractive. It won't be so soon. In the past, when the restrictive spells were loosened, it would take about 3 days for them to disappear. We can only enter after the restrictive spells disappear completely. Otherwise, we'll be attacked by the restrictive spells of the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, said an old cultivator. Clearly, he had been here before and was very familiar with the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Sure enough, it was as the old cultivator had said. In the next 3 days, the fluctuations of the restrictive spells outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons grew stronger and stronger. However, The power of the restrictive spells was weakening bit by bit. Many people became excited because the ancient battlefield of gods and demons was going to open soon. The cycle of time, the change of spring and autumn, a dream of 80,000 years. Beauties grow old, beauties pass away, old people turn to dust. Just as Lin Feng was observing the ancient battlefield of gods and demons, he suddenly heard a deep voice. Lin Feng turned his head and saw a muscular man. He was close to 2 meters tall and had a very strong visual impact. His hair was disheveled, and his face couldn't be seen. However, what really moved Lin Feng was the man's muttering. A dream of 80,000 years. How many spring and autumn had passed? How many years had passed? Could that mysterious man be an expert from 80,000 years ago? Lin Feng's heart was filled with shock. Even someone as powerful as a god couldn't live for 80,000 years. Chapter 356. Who is he? Is he really a person from 80,000 years ago? Lin Feng was shocked. The barbarian walked off into the distance. Lin Feng quickly chased after him, wanting to chat with him. However, the savage man had mysteriously disappeared without a trace, as if he had vanished into thin air. How did he disappear? Lin Feng was shocked. What kind of technique was that? He had clearly been right in front of him a moment ago. How had he suddenly disappeared? This made him feel shocked. What kind of ability was this? Was he able to travel through space? Benefactor, it's you. What a coincidence. At that moment, a familiar voice rang out. Lin Feng turned around and saw Wu Liang Daoist. So it's you, Daoist. Lin Feng cupped his fists and asked, Did you see that barbarian just now? Barbarian? Is there a barbarian here? Wu Liang Daoist looked around and muttered, Is there a third person here besides you and me? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Was he the only one who had seen that barbarian? Did Wu Liang Daoist not see him? The immeasurable Daoist said, The ancient battlefield of gods and demons is about to open. I feel that if we go in together, we'll definitely be invincible. Lin Feng glanced at Wu Liang Daoist, feeling somewhat apprehensive. Wu Liang Daoist gave Lin Feng a very unreliable feeling. Moreover, Lin Feng had spent 50,000 gold coins to buy Wu Liang Daoist's supreme treasure, the heaven-devouring jar. Wu Liang Daoist had always schemed to take it back. He wasn't plotting against him, was he? Look, a dragon. Lin Feng pointed into the distance. Where is it? Where is it? Wu Liang Daoist stretched his neck to look for the dragon Lin Feng was talking about, but he didn't see anything. I say, Wu Liang Daoist was about to express his dissatisfaction when he realized that Lin Feng had already disappeared. Let's just wait and see. Wu Liang Daoist shouted fiercely before turning around and leaving. Rumble. The restrictions outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons were dissipating. Finally, on this afternoon, the restrictions on the ancient battlefield of gods and demons completely vanished. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately after, cultivators charged towards the ancient battlefield of gods and demons at lightning speed. I don't know where the fire Qilin went. Whatever, I'll go in myself. When I come out, I'll go to the town he mentioned and wait for him. Lin Feng also flew towards the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Whoosh! But at this time, a cold light flashed, and dozens of arrows shot towards Lin Feng. These arrows were all magical arrows, which contained extremely terrifying penetrative power. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. Someone was ambushing him. Whoosh! Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword and slashed down a dozen times in a row. One arrow after another was cut down by Lin Feng. Brat, you're really lucky. Cold laughter could be heard as dozens of cultivators flew over from afar. The person who spoke looked at Lin Feng with killing intent. Seeing this person, Lin Feng could not help but laugh coldly. It was Zhang Sun Wuji. Back in the Fire Dragon Cave abode, Zhang Sun Wuji's subordinates wanted to kill Lin Feng, but more than 20 of them were killed by Lin Feng. Because the cave abode had collapsed, the two of them quickly left, but they had already become enemies. "Are you ready to die?" Zhang Sun Wuji held a battle spear in his hand as he walked over, emitting a cold aura. "I think you're the one who's going to die." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he held the black dragon sword and was about to attack. But suddenly, his pupils contracted violently. He saw an old man in Zhang Sun Wuji's group. The old man was thin and looked very ordinary, but when Lin Feng saw him, he felt an extremely dangerous feeling. This feeling was exactly the same as when he faced the green-robed old man. Yin-Yang Realm. Lin Feng sucked in a cold breath, turned around, and rushed into the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. Zhang Sun Wuji had an Yin-Yang Realm cultivator with him. If he continued to stay here, he would definitely die. "Brat, where do you think you're going?" Zhang Sun Wuji shouted coldly as he quickly chased after him. "Huh, that brat actually sensed my cultivation level." The old man was slightly surprised. He looked at an old, stooped servant beside him and said, "Kuan Nu, do you know who that brat is? How did he become enemies with Wuji?" The old man called Kuan Nu replied, "I heard the young master mention that they became enemies in the Fire Dragon Cave abode." "I see. Take a few people with you and follow Wuji. Don't let anything happen to him. If you see that he can't handle it, you know what to do." The old man said. "This old servant understands." The old servant bowed and led a few experts to follow Zhang Sun Wuji. Swoosh! Lin Feng had already entered the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. This was a world of black fog that emitted a gloomy aura. This should be the world of black fog that the Fire Qilin had mentioned. This place was obviously very dangerous. The Fire Qilin had mentioned that soul weapons would appear here. Ordinary soul weapons were nothing to the Fire Qilin before it lost its godly strength. However, to a cultivator at Lin Feng's level, they were definitely a threat to his life. He quickly flew towards the depths, but this world of black fog was extremely large. Crunch! Crunch! Suddenly, Lin Feng heard the sound of chewing food. He flew towards the source of the sound. Not far away, he saw four beings shrouded in darkness. They were surrounded by black fog, and each of them was lying on a corpse. They seemed to be eating the flesh of the corpse. There were more than 10 corpses on the ground. Soul weapons? Lin Feng was horrified. He could sense a gloomy and terrifying aura from the four beings shrouded in black fog. That aura made him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Lin Feng stealthily retreated, not daring to attract the attention of these soul weapons. If he was surrounded by 4 terrifying soul weapons, it would not be easy to escape. Lin Feng quickly left the area and continued to travel deeper. In a valley, Lin Feng saw more than 30 cultivators being blocked by 3 soul weapons. These soul weapons were able to release black fog, and the black fog enveloped the cultivators. No! Screams of pain rang out. The 30 over-cultivators all held their heads and screamed miserably. What's going on? Lin Feng felt a headache coming on. These soul weapons were very strange. Swoosh! While the cultivators were screaming, the 3 soul weapons rushed forward and attacked quickly. Their sharp claws pierced the cultivators' chests, and more than 30 cultivators died in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng took a deep breath and rushed into the distance. This place was too dangerous. These soul weapons were very strange. He had to leave this world of black fog as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. Not long after, Lin Feng ran into trouble. A soul weapon had appeared behind Lin Feng without making any sound. Its sharp claws were moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt the gloomy and cold aura behind him. He quickly moved to the right. Pooh! The soul weapon's sharp claws brought about a bloody light. Lin Feng's left shoulder was scratched with 4 bloody wounds. However, he was already lucky enough. If he was a step slower, the attack would have pierced through Lin Feng's chest. Lin Feng moved more than 10 meters away. When he saw the existence that attacked him, his expression changed. It was a soul weapon. The soul weapon let out a sinister laugh. It stuck out its scarlet tongue and licked the blood off its claws. It was indescribably terrifying. Chapter 357. This soul weapon was shrouded in the black fog. Its entire face was distorted, but one could still vaguely see the eerie fangs, the pale green eyes, the scarlet tongue, and the sharp claws. Lin Feng had seen soul weapons attack cultivators a few times in the past. He knew that these soul weapons were extremely dangerous. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't dare act carelessly in front of the soul weapon. This soul weapon emitted an aura that made Lin Feng's hair stand on end. Swoosh! Silently, the soul weapon once again pounced at Lin Feng. There's no movement at all. No wonder it could avoid my detection. Lin Feng's heart was pounding. That soul weapon was really strange. It was the best assassin. It could be used without making any sound. Then it could launch a fatal attack. Very few people could avoid this kind of attack. Swoosh! Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword. The soul weapon once again attacked, its sharp claws directly clawing at Lin Feng's chest. The soul weapon in front of him was its own claws. Clang! Lin Feng waved the black dragon sword, fiercely clashing with the soul weapon's claws, immediately producing a clanging sound. Fiery light was emitted. This made Lin Feng abnormally shocked. His black dragon sword was the most precious treasure in the Divine Sword Manual. If an ordinary treasure was hit by it, it would be damaged or even directly destroyed by the black dragon sword. But the soul weapon's claws actually blocked the black dragon sword's attack. Swoosh! Lin Feng quickly retreated. He did not want to continue fighting with the soul weapon because it was too strange. Lin Feng did not know what kind of tricks it was waiting for him. But at this time, 2 soul weapons flew over from the distance. Black fog lingered around them. Their wide black robes spread open, making these 2 soul weapons look like undead spirits that walked out from the world of hell. The 2 soul weapons' sharp claws clawed at Lin Feng. Lin Feng, who originally wanted to escape, was attacked. He had no choice but to block the 2 soul weapons' attacks. Lin Feng waved the black dragon sword, slashing at them. Clang, clang, with 2 consecutive strikes, the 2 soul weapons were forced back. He was about to soar into the sky. But in the next moment, Lin Feng held his head and screamed in pain. He fell straight down from the sky. Lin Feng felt as if his soul was about to split open. That kind of pain was worse than death. Soul attack. He was attacked by a soul weapon. Soul weapon. Soul weapon. The reason why it was called a soul weapon was because it was closely related to the soul. Soul weapons were most proficient in soul attacks, and the most terrifying thing about them was their unpredictable soul attacks. Previously, Lin Feng had witnessed a few soul weapons killing tens of cultivators because of the soul weapons' soul attacks. Lin Feng's soul power was comparable to an yin-yang 5th firmament cultivator. However, he was still unable to withstand the soul attacks of these soul weapons. Just from this point, one could tell how terrifying the soul attacks of these soul weapons were. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 soul weapons quickly rushed towards Lin Feng, wanting to get rid of Lin Feng, like how they had dealt with the others. In this extremely dangerous moment, Lin Feng's mind finally cleared up a little. Although he was attacked by the soul weapons, Lin Feng's soul power was too strong. Moreover, Lin Feng himself had cultivated a soul-secret technique. Therefore, the injuries he suffered were not as serious as he had imagined. Primal Chaos Lamp, illuminate the mountains and rivers. Lin Feng roared. When the three soul weapons rushed towards him, he took out his life treasure, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. The Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp flew out, and the lamp flame burned fiercely. A layer of primal chaos light enveloped Lin Feng, protecting him within. When the three soul weapons' sharp claws pierced towards Lin Feng's body, their attacks were blocked by the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp. At the same time, the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp's flames soared into the sky. 3 clusters of flames flew out, instantly igniting the mist around the 3 soul weapons. The flame of the Primal Chaos Ancient Lamp was ignited by Lin Feng's heavenly fire. Now that it had merged with the power of the Primal Chaos Ancestor Qi, it was extremely terrifying. Qi, 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 qi. The mist around the 3 soul weapons burned fiercely, and the 3 soul weapons let out angry and painful roars. Swish! Lin Feng quickly flew away. He did not know if the flames could destroy the 3 soul weapons, but the roars of the 3 soul weapons would definitely attract the other soul weapons. If he did not leave now, he would be dead. Lin Feng felt that his head was about to split open. He knew that he had to find a place to recover quickly. In a mountain range, he found a dry cave and set up a few invisible formations. Then he entered the cave and hurriedly circulated the immemorial dragonesque elephant art to heal his injuries. He was extremely lucky to be able to escape from the 3 soul armaments this time. These soul armaments were too strange and terrifying. After an unknown period of time, Lin Feng felt that he had almost recovered. At this moment, he heard the sounds of fighting outside. Lin Feng cautiously went out. In the distance, he could see that the 3 soul weapons were fighting against the 6 cultivators. A miserable scream was heard. One of the cultivators roared in pain. He must have been attacked by the soul weapon. The soul weapon instantly rushed over and pierced the cultivator's chest with its sharp claws. The soul weapon's soul attack was different from a cultivator's soul attack. When cultivators fought, they would be highly concentrated and use their true qi to protect their bodies. It would be difficult for soul attacks to hurt their opponents. However, the soul weapon's soul attack was all-pervasive. Even if one was an yin-yang expert and had magic power to protect their body, they would still be attacked by the soul weapon. This was the terrifying part of the soul weapon. Miserable screams were heard again. These soul weapons were too terrifying. In just a few breaths' time, 2 more experts were killed. Lin Feng took out the Great Sun-splitting bow. This was the treasure he obtained from killing Nailin Tianjiao. It was a precious spirit artifact. Lin Feng took out 3 arrows and shot them at the 3 soul weapons. The 3 arrows were as fast as lightning. They quickly shot towards the 3 soul weapons. The 3 soul weapons reacted extremely quickly. When they saw the arrows, they quickly dodged. "Run!" Lin Feng shouted. The 3 cultivators who were still alive quickly rushed towards Lin Feng. However, halfway through, 2 of the cultivators screamed. They were attacked by the soul weapons, and their souls were injured. The 3 soul weapons rushed forward and pierced the 2 cultivators' chests. The 2 cultivators died on the spot. Only the 3rd cultivator seemed to have a powerful magic artifact. When the soul weapon's soul attack came, a golden light flickered on his body. This golden light blocked the soul weapon's soul attack. Of course, the cultivator was not completely unaffected. His face was very pale. He quickly met up with Lin Feng, and the 2 of them flew away. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the boundless black fog. Chapter 358. The two of them flew for dozens of miles before finding a place to hide. The rescued cultivator was about the same age as Lin Feng, about 18 or 19 years old. He was slightly skinny, but his eyes were filled with determination. It was obvious that he had a strong will. "I am Sikong Jiayue. Thank you for saving me, brother." Sikong Jiayue cupped his fists gratefully. "You're welcome. You're welcome. I am Lin Feng." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "It's a pity that the others are all dead." Sikong Jiayue nodded and said, "These soul weapons are really terrifying. We originally had 16 people in our group, but we encountered 2 groups of soul weapons. Now, I'm the only one left alive." After talking for a while, Lin Feng learned that Sikong Jiayue and the others had met outside the ancient battlefield of gods and demons. They had formed a temporary group, and there was no lack of experts in the group. However, it was difficult for them to withstand the soul weapons attacks. Said Lin Feng, of course, he knew how terrifying soul weapons were. Those soul weapons have the ability to attack people's souls. Previously, I was attacked by a soul weapon, and I almost died. Said Lin Feng. You were able to survive after being attacked by a soul weapon. Brother Lin, you're really amazing. I relied on a defensive treasure to resist the soul attacks. Unfortunately, my treasure is about to be destroyed. Sikong Jiayue sighed. Only those who had truly entered the ancient battlefield of gods and demons would know how terrifying it was. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were both people who had narrowly escaped death. Lin Feng said, "I don't know how long it will take for us to leave the black fog world." Sikong Jiayue said, "I think it will take some time. Furthermore, it's said that in the depths of the black fog world, there are some existences even more terrifying than soul weapons. Passing through the depths of the black fog world is really dangerous. Existences even more terrifying than soul weapons." Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. Sikong Jiayue smiled bitterly and nodded, "Yes." Lin Feng asked, "Do you know what is in the depths of the black fog world?" "I'm not sure either," Sikong Jiayue said. After resting for a while, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue continued walking towards the depths of the black fog world. When they passed by a mountain ridge, they felt a terrifying aura coming from afar. Something terrifying must have appeared. "Quick, hide!" Lin Feng was very sensitive to auras. His expression changed drastically as he found a place to hide with Sikong Jiayue. Not long after, crackling sounds could be heard. A soul weapon walked over from afar. This soul weapon was different from the others. The body of this soul weapon could be seen clearly. The soul weapons that Lin Feng had seen before were all shrouded in black fog. However, the aura of those soul weapons was not as strong as this soul weapon. The soul weapon in front of him had 2 heads, but the left head was chopped off by someone and was held in the left hand of the soul weapon. The right side of the head was even more ferocious and terrifying. From the nose up, it had been chopped off. One could even see the bright red brain matter. Heavens! After seeing the soul weapon, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue couldn't help but gasp. Did you hear something?" The head on the right that had been chopped off asked. "No," the head held in the left hand said. "I clearly heard it," the head on the right said. "I think your head has been chopped off. Even your ears are not working," the head on the left said. "Bullshit, because I still have half a head. My sense of smell and hearing are even more powerful," the head on the right said. The head on the left suddenly said sinisterly, "Could it be that a human cultivator is hiding here?" The eyeballs of the head turned around and looked around. Then the pair of sinister eyes looked towards the place where Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were hiding. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue's expressions changed. This soul weapon was too powerful. Its aura made them feel suffocated. If they were blocked, they would die without a doubt. The two of them looked at each other and decided to escape first, even though they might not be able to do so. Swoosh! At that moment, a few figures in the distance quickly ran in another direction. They were the cultivators who had been hiding. Human cultivators. They're over there. Go after them. The complete head flew into the air and chased after him, while screaming, "Wait for me!" The other half of the head shouted and quickly ran over. However, because it had no eyes, it fell to the ground. "Let's go," Lin Feng whispered, and quickly ran away with Sikong Jiayue. "Damn it! There are two more hiding here." The other half of the head shouted. It quickly got up and chased after Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Swoosh! Although it was missing a head, and the rest of the body had no eyes, its spiritual sense was extremely powerful. It locked onto Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue and directly flew up, chasing after them. It can fly. It's at least an yin-yang soul weapon. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue felt their scalps go numb. They were in big trouble. A yin-yang soul weapon. Even if an yin-yang cultivator came, there was a 70% to 80% chance that they would die. Not to mention Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. The two of them quickly ran away. The soul weapon quickly chased after them and shouted, "I have already sensed your aura. You won't be able to escape, even if you have wings. Hurry up and stop. Let me eat your brains. Eat your sister." Lin Feng raised his middle finger. "Brat, you can't escape. You can't escape." The soul weapon, with half a head, quickly chased after them. The distance between it and Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue was slowly closing. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue's expressions became extremely ugly. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the soul weapon caught up to them. Rumble! At that moment, the ground shook violently. The earth shook, and the mountains shook. It was as if there was an earthquake. What's going on? Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were puzzled. Could it be? The soul weapon that was madly chasing after them was bewildered. Boom! In the depths of the black fog world, a terrifying ghost chi swept through the world. A gloomy and terrifying aura filled the air. An endless amount of ghost chi surged forth. If one looked carefully, one would see banners fluttering in the wind amidst the ghost chi. A murderous aura filled the air. It was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses. The ground shook violently. It was as if the world was about to collapse. A dense army quickly rushed out from the depths of the black fog world. Heavens, what is that? Seeing the army rushing out from the black fog world, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue's faces were filled with shock. Yin soldiers are blocking the path. Run! The soul weapon with half a head screamed in fear and ran away as if he had gone mad. Chapter 359. When the Yin soldiers pass through, all living beings avoid them. Classic of mountains and seas. Mythological records recorded such a passage. Yin soldiers. They were the legendary soldiers of the nether world. They did not belong to the human world. When the ghost gate opened, the Yin soldiers would rush out from the netherworld and come to the Yang realm. However, the Yin soldiers represented death. Therefore, when the Yin soldiers appeared, all living beings had to avoid them. Otherwise, they would be harvested by the Yin soldiers. It was no wonder that Yin-Yang realm soul weapon was so scared that his soul left his body. Soul weapons were a special kind of life. They had their own souls between living beings and undead spirits. If they encountered a situation like the Yin soldiers passing through, their lives would also be harvested. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue did not dare to stay any longer. They turned around and ran into the distance. However, there were too many Yin soldiers. Boundless ghost chi blotted out the sky and sealed it off. On the ground, there was a densely packed army. It was unknown how many there were, but it was almost impossible to avoid. Damn. This damned place. Even the Een soldiers passing through can be encountered. I really want to cry, but have no tears. Sikong Jiayue cursed in a low voice. Save your energy and run. Lin Feng said. The appearance of the army of Een soldiers caused the soul weapons in this area to be scared out of their wits. They frantically fled, far away from this area. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were chased by the Een soldiers. No matter how hard they tried, they could not shake off these Een soldiers. These Een soldiers seemed to be deliberately chasing them. I can't hold on any longer. Sikong Jiayue's face was pale. Lin Feng was also almost at his limit. The two of them were incomparably depressed. They did not understand why these Een soldiers were chasing them and not letting them go. This was truly a depressing matter. The two of them had already reached their limits and were about to be caught up by the Een soldiers. However, Lin Feng suddenly frowned and said, I feel that something is wrong. What's wrong? Sikong Jiayue asked. This army of Een soldiers. Is there a need to chase after the two of us? Even if they want to kill us, they should be killing Yin Yang realm experts. Moreover, according to the classic of mountains and seas, the Een soldiers are passing through the world of the living to reach a mysterious place. They won't stay in the world of the living. They're just passing through for a short period of time. Why would they chase us? Lin Feng said. Sikong Jiayue also felt that it made sense. The two of them were about to reach their limit. If these Een soldiers were real, they would not be able to escape. So they simply stopped. However, these Een soldiers dissipated in midair. Missing? Sikong Jiayue was shocked. Lin Feng said, It's a brand, Sikong Jiayue said. Are you saying that there was indeed an otherworldly soldier here in the past, and the scene from back then was imprinted here, and what we saw earlier was the imprint of the otherworldly soldier? Lin Feng nodded and said, That must be it. Fortunately, we discovered it in time. Otherwise, we would have died from exhaustion. Sikong Jiayue rolled his eyes gloomily and said, It's too real. It's hard to notice anything wrong. If we keep running, the fear in our hearts and the exhaustion of our strength will make it possible for us to die here. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue felt relieved. They dragged their tired bodies and walked away, needing to find a place to rest. Whoosh! However, at that moment, a series of arrows were shot towards the two of them. Magical arrows! Be careful! Lin Feng cried out in alarm. He wielded his black dragon sword and cut down a few arrows. Sikong Jiayue used a golden dagger to cut down a few more arrows. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! 6 figures flew over, surrounding Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Ha ha, brat, I finally found you. Let's see how you escape this time. A cold laugh sounded out. Zhang Sun Wuji wielded his spear, his expression cold. Lin Feng didn't expect it to be Zhang Sun Wuji. He remembered that there was an Yin Yang realm cultivator by Zhang Sun Wuji's side. He should be Zhang Sun Wuji's elder. Lin Feng looked around and didn't see the Yin Yang realm cultivator. He let out a sigh of relief. So it's you. You've come to die so quickly. Lin Feng sneered. Zhang Sun Wuji sneered. Brat, you still dare to boast so shamelessly. Do you think I can't sense your condition? I'm extremely weak right now, so I'll definitely kill you today. In this state, it's enough to kill you. Lin Feng sneered. Sikong, end this quickly. Kill this guy with all your strength. Okay. Sikong Jiayue nodded. Although he had only known Lin Feng for a short time, they had gone through many life and death situations together. Their relationship could be said to be very close, and they worked very well together. Whoosh, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue attacked at the same time, flying towards Zhangsun Wuji. Kill those two. Zhangsun Wuji looked indifferent as he coldly ordered. Yes, master. The 6 people behind Zhangsun Wuji replied. They all rushed towards Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. These 6 people were all experts of the martial general realm. The ultimate form of the devouring spirit. Seal. Lin Feng knew his and Sikong Jiayue's situation. Their conditions weren't ideal. They were extremely weak, so they had to end this quickly. Lin Feng immediately used his strongest attack. His 3 devouring spirits fused together and formed a powerful magnetic field. The 6 great experts were all imprisoned within. Die! Shouted Lin Feng loudly. He took the lead and rushed towards the 6 strong cultivators. Sikong Jiayue was astonished. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng's spirit would be so powerful. However, he quickly reacted and rushed towards the 6 people with Lin Feng. Damn it! Our bodies have been sealed. The expressions of the 6 martial generals changed. Pu Piu, Lin Feng, and Sikong Jiayue quickly rushed forward. They waved their swords and killed 4 people. Only 2 people managed to escape. Even if they weren't killed, they were heavily injured by Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue didn't chase after the 2 people. Instead, they charged towards Zhangsun Wuji. With the 2 of them working together, Zhangsun Wuji was immediately suppressed. Bang! Lin Feng's fist landed on Zhangsun Wuji's chest, sending him flying. Wah! Zhangsun Wuji spat out a mouthful of blood. Although Zhangsun Wuji was powerful, it was difficult for him to fight 2 people at once. This was because Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were equally powerful. Take this opportunity to kill him. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with killing intent as he slashed his sword towards Zhangsun Wuji. Sikong Jiayue and Lin Feng cooperated well and swept their daggers towards Zhangsun Wuji's abdomen. Zhangsun Wuji's expression changed drastically. Humph! At that moment, a cold snort was heard. An old man walked over from afar. His speed was clearly very slow. However, he covered a distance of a few hundred meters in a single step. This old man was the old servant known as Slave Kuan. The old servant rolled up his sleeves, and in a flash, a terrifying strength emerged and bombarded Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue's bodies. They had the impression that their bones were about to break. They were blown away dozens of meters away and looked like they were about to collapse. They looked extremely miserable. A martial king. Their faces were filled with astonishment. A martial king had appeared. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue had already expended a lot of energy. Facing a martial king was almost certain death. Chapter 360. Young master, are you all right? The old servant asked Zhangsun Wuji with concern. Zhangsun Wuji's expression was extremely ugly. He was an extremely prideful person, so it was hard for him to accept that he was injured. I'm fine. Zhangsun Wuji pointed his spear at Lin Feng and said coldly, Brat, come out and fight with me. I'll kill you here to wash away my humiliation. Let's fight. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Lin Feng sneered. Zhangsun Wuji's suggestion was exactly what he wanted. Zhangsun Wuji was injured and couldn't use his full strength. Although he had used up a lot of energy and couldn't use his full strength, Zhangsun Wuji was still injured. However, his situation was much better than Zhangsun Wuji's. If he captured Zhangsun Wuji alive, he wouldn't have to worry about the old man not giving in. Young master, you're injured and shouldn't fight. The old servant said, Don't stop me. I must kill this brat. Zhangsun Wuji said coldly. The old servant said, Of course I don't dare to stop you, but the great elder ordered me to protect you, so I don't dare to slack off. Although the old servant said that he didn't dare to stop Zhang Sun Wuji, it was obvious that he stood between Lin Feng and Zhang Sun Wuji. He wouldn't let Zhang Sun Wuji and Lin Feng fight. The old servant was also an experienced person, so he naturally knew what Lin Feng was thinking. He wanted Zhang Sun Wuji to fight, but he wouldn't let Zhang Sun Wuji take this risk. Zhang Sun Wuji said with a gloomy expression, "I was injured by this brat. If I don't kill him myself, I won't be able to vent my anger." Zhang Sun Wuji's battle intent was very strong. The old servant said, "Young master, you're wrong. You were injured by these two people just now. If they fought you alone, they would naturally be far inferior to you, but if they worked together, it wouldn't be strange for you to be injured by them. However, they had an unfair advantage, so you don't have to feel burdened. If that's the case, then I won't fight." Zhang Sun Wuji nodded. *CK. This old bastard. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel depressed. He hadn't expected Zhang Sun Wuji to be persuaded. "Young master, please watch. This old servant will take care of these two brats for you." The old servant turned and looked at Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Facing such a terrifying existence, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue's expressions were extremely grave. Lin Feng had the heaven-swallowing jar, a supreme treasure that could deal with low-level martial kings. Generally, it referred to cultivators in the first, second, and third heavenly layers of the martial king realm. The main reason was that Lin Feng's cultivation was not enough, so even if the heaven-swallowing jar was terrifying, he could not truly unleash its power. However, Lin Feng did not feel that the old servant in front of him was a beginner in the martial king realm. He was at least in the fourth heaven of the martial king realm. Even the heaven-devouring jar couldn't do much to an existence of this level. The old servant walked step by step towards Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. "Both of you have great potential. You're so young, yet you've already reached such a high level of cultivation. It's not easy, but today I'm going to kill you. Killing 2 stars with such great potential is really something to be happy about." "Is this old bastard a pervert?" Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. No wonder he was a servant. The older he got, the more despicable he became. "Old bastard, it's too early to speak," said Sikong Jiayue with a cold smile. "Little boy, you dare disrespect me like that? You're courting death." The old servant's expression suddenly became gloomy. His eyes were twinkling with killing intent. He immediately moved towards Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. "You're already so old, yet you dare to make a move against us 2 teenagers. Shameless old thing, scolding you is already light. Why don't you put on a turtle shell? You're a 1,000-year-old turtle." Lin Feng's mouth twitched. "Sharp-tongued brat, you can only show off now. Later, this old man will cut off both of your tongues. Let's see if you still dare to speak rudely in front of this old man," said the old servant with a cold smile. He raised his right hand and threw a punch towards Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Bizizizi, a gigantic hand condensed in the air. It was condensed from true qi. True qi was released and condensed into a giant hand. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were shocked. True qi was released and condensed into various attacks. It should be a technique that only a 5th sky martial king could use. Since the old servant was able to use it, he was obviously a 5th sky martial king. That was too terrifying. He was much stronger than Lin Feng had expected. "Kill!" shouted Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Lin Feng used the Scorching Sun sword technique. Rumble! The divine sun appeared. It suppressed the old servant. Sikong Jiayue used the star-slashing blade technique. It was an extremely powerful blade technique. It was said that a single slash could destroy stars. Of course, only an almighty expert could do that. However, Sikong Jayue was able to display the power of the star-slashing blade technique. Boundless saber light, condensed, densely packed, as if there were millions of them, and all of them slashed towards the old servant. The old servant said disdainfully, "No matter how exquisite the technique is, if your cultivation is not enough, it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot." As soon as he finished speaking, the palm slammed down. Bang! Along with a dull collision sound, the two weapons collided. Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue's attack was broken in an instant. Although the power of the giant hand was weakened, it was still very strong. Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue were sent flying. Wow! Even Lin Feng's strong body could not withstand it, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Sikong Jayue was even worse. He spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. The robe on his body saved his life at the critical moment. Boy, it's time to end this. The old servant rushed toward Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue with a murderous look. He wanted to get rid of Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue. At this critical moment, Lin Feng took out the devouring heaven jar. The devouring heaven jar was activated and released a powerful force to imprison the old servant. What a powerful treasure! The old servant was shocked, but he did not lose his ability to move. The devouring heaven jar could not imprison this terrifying existence. The old servant stepped forward, his expression indifferent. His face was full of murderous intent. Although his speed had slowed down, he could still move freely. White tiger talisman. Sikong Jayue gritted his teeth and took out a jade talisman. Roar. The next moment, a roar shook the sky. The jade talisman flashed, and a white tiger rushed out, pouncing toward the old servant. Lin Feng was shocked. This was an advanced, mystic-level talisman. It was extremely precious. Damn it! Seeing the white tiger pouncing toward him, the old servant's face darkened. He punched the white tiger. Besides Lin Feng and Sikong, Jayue quickly flew into the distance and disappeared into the black fog. Chapter 361. Bang, bang, bang. The old servant clashed with the white tiger over 100 times, but he was still unable to kill it. As expected of a high-grade mystic-ranked talisman, the white tiger condensed from it was indeed powerful. Zhang Sun Wuji's expression was extremely gloomy. He could have chased after it, but considering his injuries and the fact that he did not have enough people on his side, he did not. War King Fist. The old servant shouted coldly and punched 9 times in a row. Each punch was stronger than the last. The 9 punches landed on the white tiger's body. There was a loud bang. The white tiger's body directly exploded. "Young master, it's all this old servant's fault for letting those 2 brats escape." The old servant hurriedly apologized. Although Zhang Sun Wuji was very angry, he did not dare to be angry at the old servant. This old servant, although he was an old servant of the Zhang Sun clan because of his outstanding strength, he also had a certain status in the clan. He said, it's all because of their sinister and cunning nature. Coupled with the fact that they have so many treasures on them, they managed to escape. You don't have to blame yourself. Young master, don't worry. They won't be able to escape. They'll definitely die. This old servant has already memorized their auras and can track them. The next time we meet, this old servant will definitely kill them. They won't even have the chance to attack before dying at my hands. The old servant said sinisterly. He was very confident in his own abilities. Swoosh, swoosh. Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue quickly flashed through the black fog world. They ran wildly for more than 2 hours before finding a place to rest for a while. The 2 of them looked at each other and suddenly laughed. To be able to fight a martial king without dying, it's really refreshing. Lin Feng said with a smile. That's right. This battle also let me know how terrifying a martial king is. Sikong Jiayue nodded. Not only were the two of them not afraid, but they were also very excited. They could really be called madmen. Perhaps this was the true meaning of cultivation. If one did not go crazy, it would be difficult to truly grow. As for Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue, the crazier they were, the faster they improved. After the two of them adjusted themselves, they continued on their way. On this day, when they were passing through a forest, they heard a sharp, ear-piercing cry. Then Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue were attacked. These were a dozen or so extremely terrifying creatures. They were only the size of a fist, and their entire bodies were pitch black. Their bodies seemed to be constructed from black rocks. This kind of thing looked a bit like a terrifying insect because it had fangs and scorpion-like claws. Black demon beast. So, it's that kind of thing. Sikong Jiayue was shocked. This was the first time Lin Feng had seen a creature called the Black Demon Beast. There was no record of it in the Classic of Mountains and Seas. This was because the Classic of Mountains and Seas generally recorded the famous strange beasts and divine beasts. However, the world was so big, and there were so many varieties of ferocious beasts. Naturally, it was impossible to record them one by one. What is this? Lin Feng asked. Black demon beasts are terrifying creatures of the dark attribute. Their claws and fangs can easily pierce through a cultivator's body, and they like to eat human brains. Sikong Jiayue said with a serious expression, "Let's go quickly. These things are invulnerable, and even magic treasures can't break through their defenses." Lin Feng nodded and quickly flew away with Sikong Jiayue. However, they were entangled by the black demon beasts. These black demon beasts locked onto Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue and then chased after them. They were very fast, and there was no way to shake them off. Screech! One of the black demon beasts let out a sharp, ear-piercing cry. Then it pounced towards Lin Feng, baring its fangs and biting towards Lin Feng. Slash! Lin Feng slashed the black dragon sword at the black demon beast's body. Clang! A loud sound rang out. Although the black demon beast was sent flying by the attack, the black dragon sword was unable to break through its defenses. The black demon beast quickly pounced again. What a tough body! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. No wonder Sikong Jiayue's expression became so ugly when he saw the black demon beasts. Now, Lin Feng finally understood how terrifying these black demon beasts were. The black demon beasts let out sharp, ear-piercing cries as they surrounded Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. Swish! Lin Feng took out his Xuanwu shield, and it floated in the air. The Xuanwu shield released a defensive barrier, protecting Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue inside. More than 10 black demon beasts were lying on top of the defensive barrier, constantly gnawing at it. Lin Feng's expression changed when he saw that the defensive barrier's strength was rapidly weakening. These black demon beasts can even eat away at the defensive barrier? Lin Feng's expression became grave. There's nothing these guys can't devour. It's said that they can even devour the strength of an Yinyang cultivator. This is going to be troublesome. If we don't break away from them quickly, we'll be in danger. These guys are even more difficult to deal with than martial kings, said Sikong Jiayue gravely. It was exactly as Sikong Jiayue had said. If they couldn't defeat martial kings, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue would have a way to escape. However, they couldn't escape from the black demon beasts. Kacha, kacha! The black demon beasts were unceasingly eating away at the defensive barrier. The Xuanwu shield's defensive barrier was slowly being devoured by the black demon beasts. Once the defensive barrier was completely eaten away, Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue would have to personally face the black demon beast's attacks. That would be extremely dangerous. Both of them were frowning. Lin Feng asked, "Sikong, do these black demon beasts have any weaknesses?" If we were to talk about weaknesses, it would be their fear of fire, because the black demon beasts absorb the power of the moon and stars to increase their cultivation. They naturally reject sunlight and scorching flames. However, we're trapped here by the black demon beasts, so we can't find any flames to deal with them. Most importantly, ordinary flames don't have much effect on the black demon beasts. Sikong Jiayue sighed. They're afraid of fire? The corners of Lin Feng's mouth curled into a faint smile. Whoosh! In the next moment, he flicked his finger. A flame leaped out. It was like a cheerful flame sprite, dancing and flickering on Lin Feng's fingertips. What's this? Sikong Jiayue's pupils shrank when he saw the dancing flame on Lin Feng's fingertips. Although he didn't know what kind of flame it was, Sikong Jiayue instinctively felt that it was a terrifying flame. "This is the flame I refined when I became an alchemist," Lin Feng said. Sikong Jiayue was secretly shocked. He didn't expect Lin Feng to be an alchemist. "Try it and see how effective this flame is." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng summoned the purple earthgore fire. Whoosh! The purple earthgore fire swept across the land, enveloping a dozen black demon beasts. Screech! The black demon beasts let out shrill cries and fled frantically. However, before they could escape the purple earthgore fire, they were burned to death by the high temperature. Their corpses fell to the ground one by one. Chapter 362. Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the black demons being burned to death. They had finally gotten rid of a huge problem. Lin Feng put away his Xuanwu shield. Sikong Jiayue said, "Lin Feng, it looks like the two of us will have a great opportunity today." "Oh, why do you say that?" Lin Feng looked at Sikong Jiayue suspiciously. "Come and take a look at this." Sikong Jiayue picked up a black demon's corpse. It had been burned to death. Its soul had most likely been extinguished by the flames. However, the black demon's body was very sturdy and it hadn't suffered much damage. Lin Feng glanced at the black demonic beast's corpse, but he didn't see anything special. He asked, "Is there anything strange about this black demon's corpse?" Sikong Jiayue pointed at the black demon's stone-like carapace. There were star-like spots on the black demon's carapace. These are called star grains. They're condensed from the essence of the sun and the moon. Sikong Jiayue explained. Condensed from the essence of the sun and the moon? Lin Feng was shocked. The essence of the sun and the moon was different from the energy of heaven and earth. The energy of heaven and earth was everywhere. The essence of the sun and the moon was a kind of energy born from the sun, moon, and stars. When moonlight shone down, the essence of the moon would be contained in the light of the moon. However, the essence of the moon was extremely small. It was very difficult to extract. However, the black demon could absorb the essence of the moon. How useful was the essence of the sun and the moon? There was a story in the classic of mountains and seas. In the ancient times, the country of Aolai had a strange stone that stood on the shore of the East Sea. Every day, it would absorb the essence of the sun and the moon and become a stone monkey. 300 years later, the stone monkey would become an overlord of the demonic beasts. In the ancient times, the 7 sacred emperors of the demonic beasts were known as the sacred battle apes. At the end of the ancient times, the sacred battle apes were rumored to have overturned the netherworld. There were even rumors that they had destroyed the Lingshao Palace of the celestial emperor. Its cultivation level was unimaginable. 100,000 celestial soldiers couldn't do anything to it. Only when the 7 ancient Buddhas of the world of Buddhism joined forces did they manage to kill it. That was the power of the sun and the moon. of the sun and the moon's essence was incredible. It was the best energy for increasing one's cultivation level. Pills, spirit stones, and so on. Of the sun and the moon's essence of the sun. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. That was a good idea. If he could kill a large number of black demonic beasts and absorb the essence of the sun and the moon in their bodies, he might be able to break through again. Thinking about that, Lin Feng was excited. Good idea. Let's refine the essence of the sun and the moon in the shells of the black demonic beasts and see what happens, said Lin Feng. That's what I was thinking. Xikong Zhai nodded. Lin Feng and Xikong Zhai found a secluded place and started refining the essence of the sun and the moon in the shells of the black demonic beasts. I hope it'll be effective, murmured Lin Feng. He released his absorbing spirit. The essence of the sun and the moon in the shells of the black demonic beasts was being absorbed. Lin Feng quickly finished absorbing the essence of the sun and the moon in the shells of the 7 black demonic beasts. Lin Feng sensed the changes in his cultivation level. He realized that his pure qi had become purer and more condensed. His pure qi had transformed, and his cultivation level had increased. It's working. Lin Feng was delighted. At that moment, Xikong Zhai woke up from his cultivation. How do you feel? Asked Lin Feng. I feel great. The main problem is that there aren't enough of them. If there were enough of them, breaking through wouldn't be a problem, said Xikong Zhai. Then let's go deeper into the forest and find the whereabouts of these black demonic beasts, said Lin Feng. Yes. Xikong Zhai raised both his hands in agreement. The two of them entered the forest. It was very dark in the depths of the forest. It was emitting a cold qi. Roar. In the distance, the roar of a beast could be heard. A gigantic tiger, surrounded by black flames, appeared in the forest. It was a huge tiger with a length of 10 meters and a height of 7 to 8 meters. Black flames were burning on the surface of its body. Black flame tiger. Lin Feng and Xikong Zhai were shocked. This was an extremely terrifying beast. Its strength was at least equivalent to a human martial king. Lin Feng and Xikong Zhai did not appear. Their target was not the black flame tiger, but the black demonic beasts. The red flame tiger quickly left. Lin Feng and Xikong Zhai continued walking deeper into the forest. When they passed through a forest, they saw hundreds of black magic beasts besieging the scarlet flame devil tiger. Damn, these black demonic beasts are really ferocious. They're surrounding an overlord of the forest, said Lin Feng. Xikong Zhai's mouth was also twitching. The black demonic beasts were really terrifying, but when they thought about it carefully, they could understand. The black demonic beasts were invulnerable. Furthermore, they lived in groups. In the forest, they were definitely at the level of a supreme overlord. The black demonic beasts also needed to eat all kinds of blood to increase their strength. Roar. The black flame tiger roared furiously. It waved its gigantic claws and attacked the black demonic beasts. But it couldn't kill the black demonic beasts. On the contrary, some of the black demonic beasts managed to break through the black flame tiger's defenses. Their sharp fangs directly tore the red flame tiger's body apart. Blood immediately flowed out. Besides, those black demonic beasts were terrifying. They drilled into the black flame tiger's body through its wounds. The black flame tiger roared in pain and spat out a huge amount of black flames. This was the demonic fire black flame controlled by the black flame tiger. But the black flame tiger's black flame tiger's black flame tiger's black flame tiger wasn't strong enough to harm the black demonic beasts. The black demonic beasts broke through the flames. The black demonic beasts surrounded the black flame tiger. They used their sharp claws to tear the black flame tiger's body apart. They also used their sharp fangs to bite the black flame tiger. Bang! The black flame tiger's gigantic body crashed to the ground. A painful and mournful roar rang out. An existence at the level of an overlord of the forest had completely lost its life amidst endless pain and unwillingness. Very soon, it no longer had any signs of life. Chapter 363. The black flame tiger was as strong as a human martial king, but it had been killed by a group of black demonic beasts. The black demonic beasts were eating away at the black flame tiger's body. What a terrifying horde of black demonic beasts. Lin Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. The black flame tiger had been so powerful, but it had died without much resistance. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. Should we attack? Sikong Jiayue asked softly. He was hesitant, as there were too many black demonic beasts. Lin Feng's flames were strong enough, but if the black demonic beasts broke through his defenses, they would definitely die. After all, even ants could kill an elephant, let alone so many black demonic beasts. Lin Feng said, "I'll attack. You defend." He handed the Xuanwu shield to Sikong Jiayue. This showed Lin Feng's attitude. Wealth came from danger. "Attack!" shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. He was the first to move. The black demonic beasts were eating away at the black flame tiger's body, but they were relaxed. This was the best time to attack them. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. Sikong Jiayue followed closely behind, pouring his true qi into the Xuanwu shield. The Xuanwu shield was immediately activated. A layer of defensive light shrouded the area. It protected the two of them. The two of them were very fast, and in a few moments they had already crossed hundreds of meters and arrived in front of the black demonic beasts. Purple earthcore fire. Lin Feng immediately used his heavenly flame. The heavenly flame swept across the sky, enveloping the black demonic beasts. All of the black demonic beasts were enveloped by the heavenly flame. Screech! After suffering such a heavy blow, the dense horde of black demon beasts let out miserable shrieks. The black demonic beasts had already noticed Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. The black demonic beasts charged towards Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. However, many of the black demon beasts had already been burned to death in midair, their corpses falling to the ground. However, there were still a lot of black devil beasts that rushed over and completely surrounded the defensive light barrier protecting Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. These black devil beasts began to nibble away at the defensive light barrier. Crack! Crack! The power of the defensive light shield was rapidly weakening. Damn it, there are too many black demonic beasts. Lin Feng's expression was gloomy. Although the heavenly fire could burn these black magic beasts to death, many of them had gathered together to form a ball. The heavenly fire could only burn the outermost 2 to 3 layers of black magic beasts. As for the other black demonic beasts, they were unable to inflict any damage to them. The black demonic beasts broke through and began to nibble away at the energy of the defensive light barrier. Lin Feng crazily urged the heavenly flame. The black demon beasts were dying faster and faster. However, he was afraid that the defensive light barrier would be broken before all of these black devil beasts died. At that time, at least 100 black demon beasts would survive. Over 100 black demonic beasts swarmed forward. He could instantly deal with Lin Feng and Sikong Jiayue. The situation was critical. Rattlesnake Pagoda. At this critical moment, Sikong Jiayue also took out a magic treasure of his own. It was a 7-story pagoda that floated in midair. A giant serpent materialized. It was a rattlesnake, and its entire body emitted a cold aura. The spirit of the Rattlesnake Pagoda had awakened. The Rattlesnake Pagoda also released a defensive light shield, reinforcing it with 2 layers. After continuously urging 2 defensive magic treasures, Sikong Jayue's face became extremely pale. It was indeed difficult for a cultivator in the martial general realm to urge 2 magic treasures at the same time. Can you bear it? Lin Feng looked at Sikong Jayue worriedly. If he couldn't bear such a huge consumption and suffered a backlash from the magic treasure, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Sikong Jayue gritted his teeth and said, "Don't worry, it's fine. Hurry up and kill these black demonic beasts." "Hold on for a while longer." Lin Feng nodded. He frantically urged the heavenly fire to burn these black demonic beasts. Originally, the black demonic beasts were about to break through the black tortoise shield's defensive light shield, but now Sikong Jayue added another defensive light shield made of the Rattlesnake Pagoda. The 2 layers of defensive light shield stacked together, and the black demonic beast's attacks were immediately blocked. It was not easy to break through the defense in a short period of time, unless Sikong Jayue suffered a backlash first. At that time, the defensive light shield would be broken. However, these black demonic beasts were not aware of this. When they realized that the defensive light shield they were trying to break was getting stronger, these black demonic beasts panicked and didn't dare to continue fighting. They hurriedly fled. "Humph!" Lin Feng sneered. The heavenly fire swept out, and the temperature of the flames became even hotter. Screech! One by one, the black demonic beasts that were running away let out shrill cries before they were refined to death. Not long after, all the black demonic beasts were killed. Huff, 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 Lin Feng and Sikong Jayue were panting heavily. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw the ecstasy in each other's eyes. "Collect them and find a place to refine them," Lin Feng said. The 2 of them collected all the black demonic beasts' bodies and quickly left. They returned to the hidden place where they had first refined the black demonic beasts. Once again, they began to refine the boundless sun and moon essence contained in the black demonic beast shells. This time it was different. Last time, Lin Feng had absorbed the essence of the sun and the moon from 7 pieces of the shell. But now, Lin Feng had more than 400 shells. Devouring martial spirit. Devour. Lin Feng began to devour the sun and moon essence contained in the black demonic beast shells. The sun and moon essence in the shells was refined and absorbed by Lin Feng. Many a little makes a mickle, as the sun and moon essence was absorbed by Lin Feng. The sun and moon essence's power began to fuse with Lin Feng's true qi. With the fusion of the sun and moon essence, Lin Feng's true qi became more and more condensed and powerful. Human realm cultivator, warrior, martial master, general, 4th firmament martial king. It was through the transformation of true qi to complete the cultivation. After the cultivation increased, the power contained in one's body would also crazily increase. When the true qi transformed to the extreme, the true qi would transform into magic power. At this time, the cultivator would enter the yin-yang realm. At that time, they would have magic power and the ability to fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. Now, Lin Feng had reached a critical moment in his cultivation. His true qi had reached the edge of another transformation. Lin Feng's previous cultivation was at the 4th firmament of the martial general realm. His strength had reached 125 dragon elephants' strength. At this moment, Lin Feng only felt a surge of power in his body, beginning to explode. Boom! Unknowingly, the power in his body was like a flood flowing through his meridians. Lin Feng only felt that his strength began to rise crazily. His strength quickly broke through from 125 dragon elephants' strength to 200 dragon elephants' strength. Soon, it broke through to 300 dragon elephants' strength and finally stopped at 625 dragon elephants' strength. One dragon elephant's strength was equivalent to 10 dragons' strength. 625 dragon elephants' strength was equivalent to 6,250 dragons' strength. With 3 devouring martial spirits operating, Lin Feng's strength could reach 18,750 dragons' strength. Lin Feng, who was at the 5th firmament of the martial general realm, could definitely crush a cultivator at the 7th firmament of the martial general realm. Even if he faced a cultivator at the 8th firmament of the martial general realm, it would not be difficult to defeat him with his own secret technique. I've finally broken through. Lin Feng opened his eyes.